everybody. I am Curious Corduroy, and you are listening to the Save Data Podcast. Today, I am joined by not one, but two guests, Drunklock Holmes and Kimmy Gibbler, BTK slash Impulse Paradox, if you guys want to say hi.
What's going on? It's me again. Who would have thought?
Hey, it's me, Ryan. Thank you guys for having me. I'm super glad to be here.
It's technically all of our podcasts. And we were talking about this before we started recording, where I wasn't sure if we should go by gamer tags or just our real names. So, I mean, it's whatever.
You switch, homie. Even with your real names, you throw me for a loop sometimes. All right.
Yeah, because, well, there's my given name and then my middle name, but I've always gone by the middle name.
I've never gone. If I go by, oh, go ahead. It's my bad.
I was just gonna say, like, yeah, just what you said. Even in real life, things change. Sometimes I go by Ryan, and sometimes in real life, people call me Impulse.
I was about to say, yeah, your gamer tag actually got to the point where it was pervasive enough, even in like real life. I think part of that stemmed from having two Ryans, though.
Yeah, we had to
And
differentiate.
he was like, call him Ryan, and then call me Kirsch, and I'm like, those nicknames are never gonna stick.
I think
You will not get me to.
I still call Kirsch Kirsch.
I do. I've gotten used to calling Kirsch Kirsch. I've actually had to stop calling Ryan his given nickname that he had me say before. Way back when we were trying to figure it out. I was like, I know two Ryans. What do we call him? He's like, you'd call me Kirsch, and then and then Ryan here, BT Kimmy Gibbler, was like, you could just call me Black Ryan. And I pointed. I'm like, he said I could. It's not. That wasn't my idea. I didn't say that. I've said
Multiple
it.
times
Go ahead.
when I've had employees that are also named Ryan, I've attempted to get that to be the thing, and it never works out. Understandably so.
Yeah, it's. I mean, if you walk up to, if you, I've found that if you walk up to somebody of my disposition and said you could call me Black Ryan, they'll be like, I'll find something else to say.
Yeah, that's not a good look out in public if you're in retail and somebody goes, "Hey,
It's
Black Ryan, come here. I need to ask you something."
well, I've told stories. I'll be like, yeah, I was hanging out with my buddy Black Ryan, and people are like, really, Black Ryan? I'm like, no, see, like it's his idea. He said it, not me. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just, I think I'll just call him something else. I catch more flack. I don't care myself. I always give the preface that they're like, "Why do you call him that?" I'm like, "Cause it's true. That's what it is." But no, I don't mind the names if we want to make the switch names. My name, my gamer tag's still kind of still a little oh God, prevalent. Yeah. So yeah, Jeremy, Drunklock Holmes. Either way,
Well, today we have a few things to discuss, but before we get to the quick news bites, we actually did have some breaking news that happened earlier. Um, So if you guys remember, I think it was at the beginning of the month, might have been towards the end of October, Microsoft and Sega announced a partnership with each other that was revolving around the Azure cloud platform, which is this fancy ass advanced cloud based platform that Microsoft has created that other companies can utilize. Even Sony and Microsoft at one point in time were in talks about this cloud based platform for Sony to use somewhere down the line for something. And when the headlines hit that Sega and Microsoft were working together, in particular for what they were calling a super game, which is going to be cloud based. So it could be a game that could be like an MMO or like a games as a service, live service type of thing. A lot of people were taking that as, oh, Xbox and Sega are now working together, or Microsoft has purchased Sega, which has been rumored for a very long time. And you had all these clickbait articles and video titles saying that Xbox and Sega are now together, and Sega will be making exclusives exclusively for Microsoft, which is not the case. Sega did come out with a press release today to debunk all of this, and they said, we are not talking about releasing games to Microsoft exclusively, but rather to develop super game that will be delivered to the world together with their technical support. So it's basically
tentative
kind of
title.
like, yeah, it's kind of like what Sony was doing with Microsoft, talking to them about this platform. Any company that has interest in this cloud technology can approach Microsoft, talk to them, see what they want to do with it. That's basically what happened with
Because
Sega and Microsoft.
I believe the Azure stuff is used to power their what is it? Their xCloud, their xCloud game streaming stuff. So it's like usability is pretty wide. So it doesn't surprise me that other people are in on it. I mean, they're like it's either that or Amazon. I mean, if you if you want to say you've partnered with Amazon for something, you go for it. Tell me how that pans out.
Yeah, I think Microsoft is the safer bet there.
Yep,
Yeah,
I
you
would
had
say so.
mentioned this news came out like about a month ago or the beginning of this month.
Hmm.
That's
You're
when
okay.
I heard it. I read a little bit into it, but it was like one of those things where I didn't really like take serious or, think about it too much. I just waited for a little more uh information to come out. So
Yeah,
I'm glad
considering. Oh, go
they
ahead.
clarified things.
I'm I'm still getting a chuckle out of them, calling it Super Game.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah,
the
that's
minute
a
you said that.
terrible name. I don't know what they're thinking with
I don't
that.
know if that's like a working title or if it's legitimately going to be called Super Game.
That's gonna drop. They'll be like, it's not a working title. Super Game was the name of it. And it's like, oh, it's okay. So it's gonna be bad. I can stop paying attention to this. Okay, we're throwing. I didn't know.
Yeah, but I'm just happy that Sega came out and clarified that. There was a lot of people on the internet trying to explain what the situation was, and
I
you had a lot of
see.
fanboys saying like, "Oh no, we got Sega now, and they're going to be making exclusives." No, it's just it's a business relationship. That's all it is.
Hey,
It's
there's
almost
one
like.
very oh, I'm sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was just gonna say it's almost like they're all just that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all just business relationships. Who'd have thunk? But anyway, go ahead.
I just wanted to say in like regards to Sega, it's not all so bad considering they can now pretty much play Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Generations and full glorious 60 FPS on Xbox for the first time ever.
I think I'd
Yeah,
probably get
that's
60 in that.
that's kind of like half of it right there. That's the partnership I need to see from like Sega and from any of these other ones is like, are we partnering up to bring our backlog of old games, classic games back to the forefront again without the definitive edition title, which we'll talk about how well that went for
Yeah.
somebody later.
We've got some news about that. But with the Microsoft and Sega news out of the way, we can get over to our quick news bites. Again, I'm not married to the name, so if you guys have any
Good.
suggestions on what you
Taking
want
her
to
out.
call it, we can change it.
Taking her out. We're gonna go get dinner.
Our first quick news bite comes from Gene Park of the Washington Post, but it was compiled by Ryan Craddock of Nintendo Life. It is the Switch OLED pushes Nintendo back to the top of console sales. In October, Nintendo sold 711,000 Switch consoles across the US, with 314,000 of those being the OLED model. The Switch family of systems has been the US's best-selling console for 33 consecutive months up until September 2021, when the PS5 went to top of the charts for the first time. Thanks to the OLED, Nintendo now finds itself back on top. Doug Bowser also shared further details on Metroid Dread's impressive launch. He reveals that the new title sold 854,000 copies in the US in October, explaining how the game enjoyed the strongest launch for any games in the series to date in the US.
I always get a chuckle with the strongest launch for any games in the series to date in the US. What Metroid games have come out? Like
The
what
last
is it
one I
competing
think
with?
was Federation Force, and that's we don't even talk about that game.
Yeah, it beat Federation Force in total units sold. No shit.
What was the other one? Other M? Was that the other one that was not received
Oh
well?
God, I completely spaced other M.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you've actually
Well,
been playing Dread, right, Ryan?
Yeah, I was actually putting time into it and all the way up until we started this podcast. I'm
I
one
hear
of
it's.
those
Oh,
854,000, but I bought it digital and I totally wouldn't mind adding another one to that and having a physical copy. I don't have anything negative to say about that game whatsoever.
it's not a negative statement. More so, just a talk about it. But I've actually heard that Dread's kind of difficult. Like actually, like we're talking like proper difficult. Like that doesn't have that like ease of use. Like it isn't quite Metroid Prime 2 difficult, but it's. I've heard that a lot of people have been saying like, "Oof, it's got a little bit of kick to this one."
Yeah,
What do you?
it's really fast-paced action like Team Ninja, like Ninja Gaiden type difficulty. But it's also that old school Nintendo difficulty where, yeah, you'll die a couple times, but once you figure things out, it's pretty easy to get along. It's really good at teaching you how to play, and you feel really good when you finally excel at something that you've been stuck on for a while.
It's a title I definitely still have to get a hold of. Though when I heard it was a sequel to Fusion, or was it Metroid Fusion, if I remember correctly, because it does pick up after the events of Fusion. I realized that I may have totally slept on that title, and I have no idea where we're at, I guess. So there's part of it's like, I might catch up, but I hear it isn't too bad for people who haven't played Fusion. It's just basically if you have, it picks up after the events of that. There'll be some things that you kind of go, oh, okay, so that's where that went. But it's not like you need to play Fusion to know what happened and happens in Dread. It's good to hear it's doing good though. Metroid needs more balls in its park for sure, because that franchise has been slept on and like not even abused. Like they have, I wish I could say it's been abused. They literally have gotten like no attention. Metroid Prime 4 was announced. Yeah, be happy. Lay down for 5 years. Okay.
Didn't that restart development actually completely a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I believe not only did it restart, because I think originally Retro Studios like wasn't involved at all, and I believe with the restart they have pulled Retro in. And it's almost like they looked around and were like, none of this is gonna work. Nintendo, of course, was like, all right, bring the truck back, and we'll just toss this shit out and start over. No, but that's good to be able to take a look at a project and say to yourself, like, this ain't working. Like, it's better than a few that kind of just, oh yeah, why not? Just shove it out. We'll see what happens. What do they call it? Post-release patching. We'll just do that. It'll be fine.
So our next two quick bites are actually revolving around the same game. This is GTA Trilogy, back on PC after unlicensed music and hot coffee files were removed. This is from Ollie Jones over at Games Radar. In a statement on Twitter, Rockstar confirmed that the remasters were again available through the Rockstar Games launcher for play and purchase, and said that we sincerely apologize for the inconvenience and are working to improve and update overall performances as we move forward. So they actually pulled the game down from the Rockstar launcher for 3 days because it turns out that there was unlicensed music that was still in the game that they didn't have the rights to, and there was developer code stuck in the code. So for anybody who's familiar with, debugging or using any type of code, you could go in there and actually look at the developer notes that were left in there that should have been cleaned out.
Depends on the notes. I mean, some of the notes are necessary. They're like actual like comments.
Mm.
But we're talking like the comments that we had, the developer comments that were in there, were like shit talking or people saying what is even this? Like just dumb stuff. Like professional cleanup. Like saying, this module controls this or something like, comments in code isn't unheard of. But like these were bordering on spicy to like worthless. I
Yeah.
think those were just cleaned out just for the sake of like might as well since we're in here. The unlicensed music though was wild considering one of the big announcements was that it was going to be missing huge chunks of the soundtrack that we got used to,
Yeah,
and
and some of the notes
every
were
missing
like
track.
queuing the code to not play tracks that were unlicensed that they didn't have the rights to. And then there was, the hot coffee mod was somehow still left in the code, which that was discovered and that had to be removed before they could put it back up on the stores. And that actually leads to another bit of info that since the games have been put back on the Rockstar launcher, they're now offering the classic versions of GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas on PC for free. So if you bought the definitive edition, you can actually purchase those games again for free on PC, since they were pulled originally when the definitive edition came out. So that's kind of like their idea of a make good, if you will.
Well, that was part of the blowback, right? If I
Yeah.
remember correctly, was the takedown of the classic ones. Kimmy, I know that probably is something that soured the deal for you almost immediately because I know that you like a good remaster as much as the next guy, but removing the old ones to make way for the remaster is kind of like a hard line for you.
Yeah, that's really ridiculous and definitely like a slap in the face, in my opinion, to the people who grew up with those games. And yeah, they're back on PC, but they're only on the Rockstar game launcher. They're not
Mm-hmm.
back on Steam. So personally, I'm still not very satisfied with that, as
Yeah,
the Rockstar game launcher is the one reason I didn't get the game on PC and I went with um,
the
PS5. But
console release. Yeah.
apparently it doesn't matter because it doesn't perform anywhere. So I'm not really missing out on anything.
Yeah,
Mm.
Rockstar did follow up with an apology. They say, we want to provide an update regarding the unexpected technical issues that came to light as part of the launch of GTA, the trilogy, the definitive edition. Firstly, we want to sincerely apologize to everyone who has encountered issues playing these games. We have ongoing plans to address the technical issues and to improve each game going forward. With each planned update, the game will reach the level of quality that they deserve to be. Shouldn't that have been the case before they released it?
I That's the fun part is I definitely from what I played, of San Andreas because I delved into that one a little bit, got a decent bit, explored, played some missions. Um, if you stay on like the main path, the main missions and their cutscenes actually aren't all that bad. So, like, part of me wonders if by the way, the development studio isn't Rockstar for this one, is the same people that handle the mobile ports, Grove Street Games.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like it's not too hard to pull the wool across because when I first started it and I was playing those early missions, I was like, whoa, like I've heard nothing but complaints, but like this isn't too bad. Once you get off the beaten path, it doesn't seem to be too difficult to like pull the wool over. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were like Rockstar, yo, dog, check it, everything's going great, and they're like, all right, cool, keep it up, and they're like, all right, cool, now just bootleg port all these models in real quick, okay? We got Rockstar off our backs. I don't
Yeah.
think it was that hardcore, but like
Some people were
some
saying that
no communication somewhere.
it kind of felt like maybe they just took the three games and put them into like some type of AI upscaling program and then just hit go and then whatever came out is what they put out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm getting. Like there's a lot of things that seem to be AI handled, from the upscaling to even the grass. There was a time where I was driving down a crevice. It was like a crevasse. I'm sorry, not a crevice. And grass came down the sides, like it was stone. The original was a stone texture that came down to meet the road. The grass was placed over it, and the grass is a neat little texture, but it was like broken, like it was hovering over parts of it. You could walk underneath the grass, so it's almost like they added like some type of like automated porting process that just kind of was like, anything with this type of elevation or with this texture, get grass. And it isn't perfect. It's really janky.
Yeah, and I think Ryan, you've probably out of the three of us have played the definitive
Yeah.
edition more. So what's your experience been like?
Yeah, I'm about 70% done with GTA 3. The last mission I did, I want to bring this mission up in particular, is called Espresso to Go. And the reason I want to bring this ridiculous mission up is because it requires you to drive between all three islands from, basically the very east of the whole game to the very west to destroy these food stands.
Oh God, yeah.
So
I remember this.
that's a lot of it's a lot of driving, so it gives you a lot of opportunities to see what's really wrong with the game. And technically, I honestly haven't run into like any game breaking issues, but what I've been running into are game changes and like the amount of damage you can take and the amount of damage cars and like structures will take. So you'll literally just be driving down the highway and you'll get shot two or three times while you're in the car with a pistol, and your car will just explode.
Wow.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
and sometimes your car is on fire, and they changed how long it takes for you to get out of the car. You have to press triangle twice to get out of the car now instead of pressing it once. So by the time you press triangle twice and Claude is getting out of the car, you're either gonna take damage or you die pretty much every single time.
Jeez.
So
It's
so
it's
it wasn't
very
just
clear to
me.
me they didn't test this game whatsoever.
It wasn't just me noticing the pressing Y to get out thing. Because when I was playing San Andreas, I'd stop the vehicle because it's about to explode, and I'd tap Y and nothing would happen. And I'd start tapping it like, dude, the car's gonna explode, get out. So I'm not the only one who saw that.
No, it's
I thought I
not
was
just you.
smoking crack.
That's a weird change to make.
Part of me wonders if it's part of that. Because, so, background on these are actually the mobile ports. They use the mobile ports
Ew,
as the
gross.
basis. Yeah, as the basis. Which, I mean, I can kind of understand. Part of the port job's already done. But, like, if you're going to say this is the definitive edition and you're taking mobile ports that are already drowning in bugs as it is, like, I wonder how many of these are just stuck around since then.
Yeah.
GTA 3, though, I did hear that one in particular does. You brought up the car damage, and I heard that one does have this weird issue where like two shots and the car is dead. It's over.
It's
One of the biggest questions I have, or I'm
no,
sorry,
you go
I just
ahead.
want to say, one of the biggest questions I have is considering these are ports of the mobile versions of the game. How
Hmm.
the hell was the hot coffee mod
Oh yeah.
included, considering the mobile ports weren't ports from the PS2? I thought those were original to mobile and iOS at the time. So it's just really strange how the hot coffee is there at all. It seems like a
Kind
deliberate
of an oversight.
fuck up. I don't
It
know,
it
man. That's just
feels
really weird.
very lazy. They clearly rushed
Well,
this out. I don't think they put a lot of money into it. They just wanted to get it out because it's like it's Grand Theft Auto. Rockstar's name is on it. People will buy it no matter what.
as much as I want to say it's spicy Rockstar overload, this is absolutely on them because at the end of the day, when your underlings fuck up, it's management's fault.
Yeah,
Or sorry, at the end of the day, when your underlings mess up, it's management's fault. It's usually a problem up there. You weren't paying attention or checking in. So I still hold them accountable. But at the same time, like I said, the weird bar where like it reminds me of Andromeda, where if you stay like in this respect only, is that if you stay on the path and play like the game back to back, the main story bits, the main bits, most of the time, everything holds together. It's like stepping past that veneer and giving the game chances to like play itself on accident. You know what I mean? Like having the AI do whatever, or going to certain parts of the map that are like off the beaten path. You'll find that anything off the main channel is broke. So I think it absolutely is, but for once, like for the grand scheme of it, I blame mostly the development studio. But when it comes to letting it slide entirely, yeah, that's on Rockstar and the rest of them. It's like you guys really should have been keeping a better tab on what's happening here.
yeah. So all we can really do is see if they put their money where their mouth is and if patches actually come out for these games.
Hey, I played San Andreas thanks to Game Pass, so didn't even spend $1 on it.
And I can say I've played since the patch yesterday, claiming that they fixed a few issues on 3, and those issues are still there. They were not fixed, so I don't
Uh,
know what to say.
it's gonna
Hey,
be
but they
a
got those licensed tracks out though, right? So, you know.
it's gonna be another Friday the 13th situation where they say they fix stuff and nothing changes. So our next story is actually about the rumored WB platform fighting game in the vein of Smash Brothers. So many weeks ago, it was rumored that NetherRealm was working on a Smash type game. That was later debunked. NetherRealm was not the studio working on it, but it is a WB platform fighter. Somebody did actually leak a screenshot of the character roster screen that was swiftly struck down by Warner Brothers themselves, which confirmed that, yeah, this
It's
game is real.
it's a guarantee.
Yeah, and we actually got the official announcement trailer earlier this week. It's about like a 4 to 6 minute long video, I think, going over the game itself and the basics. But this information comes from the press release. So the game itself will be free to play with cross platform play and cross progression. It will have 2v2, 4 player free for all, and 1v1 modes. Although the main focus seems to be tag based 2v2. And they even showed like some of the characters that have abilities that can work in conjunction with one another. Interestingly enough, the game will be on PS4, PS5, PC, Xbox One, Series X, and Series S, but not the Switch. So we'll get to that after the roster uh, list. But they did say that it will have dedicated server-based rollback netcode, so it should play really well
Thank
online.
God.
Yeah, it's nice that companies are actually taking this seriously. Like, we want to have good online netcode. So the fact that it's got rollback, that gives me faith that they're taking this very seriously. But the base roster will include Arya Stark of Game of Thrones, Batman, Bugs Bunny, Finn the Human from Adventure Time, Garnet from Steven Universe, which I think you'll be really excited about, Ryan, because you've
Absolutely.
you've said a lot of really positive things about that show.
Yeah, Garnet is definitely gonna be one of my first play for sure.
We also have Harley Quinn, Jake the dog from Adventure Time, Rain Dog, who is an original creation specifically for this game, Shaggy from Scooby Doo, Steven Universe himself, Superman, Tom and Jerry, and Wonder Woman. It is also said that future characters will most likely be DLC. And it was rumored that the first DLC character will be the fictional character of LeBron James.
Wow. I'm so glad they got my favorite WB Universe character, and LeBron James,
Yeah.
famous basketball player.
It's so weird to have a roster of fictional characters and comic book characters and cartoon people, and then your
I,
first person is a real life human being in LeBron James.
by the
I
way,
can't.
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead, pal.
All I was going to clear up is, by the way, the only thing that's important to me that came out of this one, because as much as I love hearing this is still, like, until I've got it in my hands playing it, it still hits the realm of this is just made up. I don't even care if they've given this. Like, I'm still looking at it like, there's no way. But, however, I did hear that Matthew Lillard is coming back to voice Shaggy, who
Oh,
you
nice.
may know from the live action a lot of the live action ones, he's been pretty much the tentative voice for Shaggy since the first live action Scooby-Doo movie. He didn't come back for Scoob, the animated one, talking about how they joined, but WB has announced that they revealed that Matthew Lillard would be coming back to voice Shaggy in this. And weirdly enough, that's the part I'm like, okay, all right, because like I adore his performance as Shaggy. It's fantastic.
That's actually a really big selling point, is that they're going to have voice acting, and the actors who are most iconic for these roles will be coming back to voice the characters. And I feel like with I feel like with Nickelodeon All Stars Smash Brawl thingy, whatever that was called, that not having voice actors is so weird. So for this game to actually have Kevin Conroy as Batman or Matthew Lillard as Scooby-Doo, that's kind of sold me already. I don't know about you guys.
It's pretty good. What about
Yeah,
you?
it was kind of surprising how the lack of voice acting, how silent it made playing Nickelodeon sound,
It's
where
awkward.
it's just generic music and the generic sound effects. I think I'm not saying voices would have saved that game, but it definitely would have helped. And I'm not saying it needs saving. There's still plenty of people playing. It's very easy to find streams on it, but that game could have been so much better. And NetherRealm is capitalizing on it.
Yeah, Warner Brothers is definitely putting money into the game, and it's funny because when the game was first leaked, the person who leaked it said the game looked cheap, and that got a lot of people worried. But watching the trailer, although the footage looks a little bit slow, which maybe they slowed it down just so you could see what was going on, it doesn't look bad. Like, I mean, I like the art style. I think the graphics look fine, and it looks like it's going to play kind of like Smash.
Well, this side of Smash is abysmal online, which again I still don't attribute to the developer. I definitely still put that on Nintendo themselves, like not really pushing the bar. I'm kind of glad that there's, at least in the competition for that, when you said they had like rollback netcode and stuff like that, it's like, well, finally somebody's gonna tell Nintendo, it's like, look, other people may not be able to do Smash as good as you, but hey, at least I can hit, and my hits actually take, instead of waiting a second and a half for the animation to play out.
I think this is the right path to take, though. Free to play scares a lot of people, but free to play doesn't mean bad. You download the game if you like it. You can put money into it if you want, buy new characters when they come out, or you could just uninstall it. And they'll have different costumes for the characters. There's a lot of focus on the competitive angle, so there's going to be guilds that you can create and fight against. And the fact that it has cross progression, I really appreciate as well, because there's going to be people out there that maybe they play on PC, but then they want to play it on console, and that data will transfer over. So this could be like a really big game, and if they put the right amount of money into it, it could. I don't think anything's ever going to surpass Smash, because Smash is like the ultimate fighting game to a lot of people.
That was a dream come true.
Yeah, it's the impossible roster list with Smash, but this could be its own thing. It could be an alternative that, if you don't want to play Smash or Nickelodeon All Stars, you can play this, because it's going to probably have a really cool roster. And I'm just imagining
Super Saiyan Shaggy.
Yeah, I'm just imagining like the characters that you could have in there. You could have Gandalf, was rumored. I think Warner Brothers still owns Freddy Krueger, although I think the the rights might have gone back to Wes Craven's estate. So Pennywise could be in there. I don't know who are other like Warner Brothers and HBO characters.
It sounds incredibly bad.
Tony Soprano.
Actually don't keep up. Tony. He could. Yeah. Can't wait
It's
for him to have a
actually
heart
Keanu
attack.
Reeves as Neo.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Oh, I completely spaced that. Yeah, that actually is. That's got to be their trump card in their back pocket.
Give me
Like the minute
Keanu.
anybody's like, it's not going to be good.
Give me Keanu.
You don't even have. Yeah, just have Keanu.
yeah.
And have him channel different powers from different properties that he's inevitably been part of.
Put Keanu in there. Give me Freddy Krueger. Give me Jason. Because there's been cartoon iterations of these characters that look really cool that would fit into this game. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty exciting.
Ultra Instinct Shaggy Day One.
Oh yeah. Oh, did you see like the Jeet Kune Do Shaggy, where he's actually got like different animations when he's in that outfit too?
Yeah, you talk about like from martial law.
Is that like what it's based off of? It's like Bruce Lee type Shaggy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought it was based off Law from Tekken.
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be either one, but like
Well,
that's pretty
Law's
cool.
based off of Bruce Lee, so
Yeah.
it'd just be circling back.
But
so.
I really appreciate little details like that where it's not just a skin change, the animations change with it. That's pretty cool. But moving on from that, our next story is Forza Horizon Horizon 5 surpasses 10 million players to become the biggest Xbox game launch ever. This is directly from the Forza Horizon Twitter page. Thank you to the more than 10 million hashtag Forza Horizon 5 fans for the biggest first week in Xbox history and Xbox Game Pass ever. GG. We also have a follow-up statement from Phil Spencer himself, who I'm going to try and do a Phil Spencer impression when I read this because it's his words. So don't laugh. We're invested for years in Xbox so more people can play. With 4.5 plus million players so far across PC, cloud, and console, Forza Horizon 5 shows that promise coming to life. Largest launch day for Xbox Game Series game. Peak concurrent 3x 4H 4i? I don't know what that means.
What?
Thank
Hold
you,
on a
players, and congrats to We Are Playground. Phil Spencer. That was directly from Phil Spencer's Twitter account.
4H4 or FH4 is just Forza Horizon 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty massive. We were talking about this before we started recording about how the Forza games always come out and do well, but they're never really given their due because they're racing games. That's something that's going to come up later in the podcast when we get to the Game Awards stuff and like Game of the Year nominees. But these games crush it every single time, and because they're racing games, they don't really get viewed the way they probably should.
Yeah, I tease a bit because a lot of times when people still want to, they run out into the backyard and dig up that old corpse of the console wars to try and make it relevant again. Oh, they'll bring up exclusives and stuff like that, but yeah, that's definitely what you get. Is Forza doesn't count. Forza's a racing game. I'm like, I was literally saying it before. I tell them like Gran Turismo doesn't count, and they're like, oh no, that's different. I'm like, no, it's not really. One, the game's actually come out. Sorry about that, Gran Turismo, but how long has this last one been in development?
Forever.
So
it's never coming
yeah,
out.
so it's almost like we probably shouldn't have pointless little arguments like that. But no, it's good to hear that that's going on because Forza Horizon 4 was amazing. I still haven't had a chance to boot up 5, so I'm definitely looking to get into it. Yeah. Kibby, I know you definitely got into it. You got something to say about that for sure.
Yeah, I played a couple hours. I actually had a chance to join a convoy with a friend of mine, and we did a couple races online. And yeah, dude, I was definitely just kind of blown away. It's just how good it looked and how well it performed and how well everything came together. It's definitely a really good game. Really easy to dump probably 100 hours into, even more.
Yeah, that's the fun part. It's one of those cross-generational ones too. So like, that's the one fun part that's been coming out of Xbox is watching them drop like 4 versions of a game. So, but I think that's what impressed me. They will touch on that probably during the Infinite Beta. Well, it works still. Infinite stuff that we have to talk about later. But just watching a game drop for a console from 2013, and let's be honest, the lesser powerful console that came out in 2013, and span all the way up to the most recent one, and just perform stably and well at their targets across the whole generation is pretty impressive. I got to give them a lot of props for that. And then making a very robust PC version from what I hear. I haven't seen much about that myself, but I watch a lot of Digital Foundry, so.
So moving on from the biggest Xbox game launch ever, we have the most played Xbox game ever on Steam in under 24 hours, which was Halo Infinite. This comes from Daniel Ahmed from Twitter. Halo Infinite multiplayer, I feel like I had a seizure there, which launched about 2.5 hours ago, has already surpassed 162,000 peak concurrent users on Steam. This makes it the most successful Xbox Game Studios title of all time on Steam. The game would eventually peak at 272,586 players. To put that into perspective, the Master Chief Collection hit 161,000, and Forza Horizon 5 hit 81,000 peak concurrent users.
That should come with a slight caveat. But that's a very impressive numbers. Don't get me wrong. The bit of it is interesting that it got that, and I'm definitely for sure. But it's kind of I definitely for sure like think it's great. But there's part of me that thinks that the numbers are skewed a little, as this is a free to play title, so obviously it's gonna hit some fantastic peak ones, and that's good, solid, absolutely. But then it's compared up against the Halo Master Chief Collection, which at minimum cost $10 to play when it launched, and then Forza Horizon 5, which Game Pass doesn't work. Game Pass doesn't work with Steam, I don't think. I think to do Game Pass on PC, you still have to use the Windows Store.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, Forza Horizon 5, is definitely probably saw most of its numbers from Game Pass. So Steam, that'd be people who bought it like outright for $60 at
And
launch
this is just Steam. This isn't counting how many people played Infinite
in
on
general.
Microsoft
Yeah.
stores or on Xbox consoles.
Like I said, still impressive numbers, but when I saw the comparison, I'm like, there's one, two paid games, and two, like one that most people are gonna play via Game Pass.
Moving on, we have the Xbox 20th anniversary event that was held earlier this week. It was about a half hour long, and I kind of wish I would have skipped it and just got the Cliff Notes online. But if you're like a hardcore Xbox fan, you are definitely going to check this out no matter what. There was some interesting stuff that was revealed, starting with the fact that this was actually at the very end of the presentation, but they announced that Halo Infinite was going to drop, and it dropped on November 15th. Free to play, multiplayer, so everyone could check it out. I know you were having issues downloading it, Jeremy. I know a lot of people were. They were getting the blue screen at first when they were trying to download it and play it.
Yeah, I've got a whole shtick about that because unlike some who may have skimmed over it, I was there. The most desperate stream I've ever thrown together in my life happened that day, because of alarm problems. But yeah, for many months, I'll get to your blue screen. Don't worry, because they lead into each other. But for many a month, we talked about that. I think it came to a head in October that they were going to drop early. We'd seen some hints from the store page of some early drop pack, which actually, believe it or not, we haven't seen that yet. So I'm curious what that is. But yeah, we definitely talked about it before. I stuck with it. I figured why not? It'd be a fantastic way. The absolute Mad Lads would be insane to just do it. But they did, yeah. November 15th, Halo Infinite dropped for everybody. However, we had some spiciness. They dropped it and they said it'll be available today for you to download and play and enjoy with all your friends as a thank you from us at 343 to you, the community. And I'm like, cool, neat. How though? Because no instructions or anything came round. So early on, people were getting they were downloading Halo Infinite, quote unquote. Um, but we were getting blue screens. Turns out the reason is because we all might have jumped the gun. I found out later. We downloaded the game, all 240 megabytes of it, and technically it's allowing people to play, but because there's no data to play, it boots up to a blue screen because it has no idea what to do. You're like, yeah, go ahead and play. The Xbox is like, go for it. I don't have anything to play, so here's this blue waiting screen. Turns out we had to wait a sec or restart our consoles. Um, there was an update that was pushed that essentially was the game launching. But early on, there was some confusion. There were websites getting in there so that they could totally make an article and get them clicks. All those articles said was, have you tried turning your console on and off? Have you checked for updates for it? Make sure you've downloaded the correct Infinite. Are you home right now? Like that silly stuff where they tell you basic stuff and they're like, anyway, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. And then they leave you with 50 ads. But yeah, there was a lot of confusion because they didn't tell us how. It wasn't until later that somebody had like the epiphany. Wait, hold on. What if I restart my console? And they did. Sure enough, if you restarted your console, if you had it on before the update came through, if you did a quick reset of your console, turn it back on, the update would queue up. It was roughly 20 some odd gigs. So it wasn't too bad. 20 gigs for Series X. I think PC got that too. And then Xbox One and stuff, it was about 17 gigabytes. So it's really small footnote. It's not too bad.
Ryan,
It is a wild release.
you got a chance to play it too. What console are you playing it on? Or are you playing it on PC?
I believe he's on PC.
I was playing Game Pass PC.
Yeah, I'm stuck on Xbox One. But how was your guys' experience? Because on Xbox One VCR, you're locked at 30 frames a second, so it's a little rough at first, but after a couple of matches, my eyes adjusted and it wasn't too bad.
Had the teeniest look. So my main one for me has been the Series X, of course. And for that, I believe it runs very admirably. It runs really, really well. Hit it, in the 4v4 matches, 60 FPS constantly. Never a drop, never a stutter. When it comes to just raw performance. BTB gets occasionally a little spicy. Every once in a while there's a little bit of a stability hit, and I found that it's not just me seeing it. It's not just me seeing it because me and a couple of friends, including some that play on the original Xbox, played, and when those performance hitches would hit me, their console would crash straight up. Like not their console, but the game would crash straight up. So there's some spiciness. But from what I hear, because I did take a look at it on the original Xbox, I happen to have the access to one. It's pretty stable, even if the target's 30. Uh, but yeah, in my experience, it looks great. I think it looks fantastic. Materials are a little tough, a little interesting for my tastes. But that's just more of a taste difference. But when it comes to pure just like art, gameplay, responsiveness, this side of strangeness with their game modes, which we'll probably touch on a little bit, because there are some complaints. This game isn't perfect. Um, when it comes to performance-wise, though, on Series X, it's pretty much flawless. BTB's got some stemmers, but I'm hoping to see those get hammered out as time goes on. Because this is technically a beta. We are predating the release by about a month. So there may be a patch in the background to fix that they were like, you know what, it'll survive without it for right now. The crashes need to get fixed immediately, but overall performance, it's pretty good. What about you? How about on PC, Kimmy Gibbler? You said you picked it up on Game Pass. I believe that's got to be a totally different talk considering the amount of hardware permutations.
Yeah, when I have to Google if I'm the only person having issues, I was already not a good sign. And when I see people that have twice the hardware that I do having issues, that's when I'm like, here we go. When it's just a 4v4 match, when I'm playing on all high, I have my shadow set on medium. That'll get me 80 to 90 FPS in a 4v4. But if I'm doing big team battle, it'll drop to 55 sometimes. I think the lowest I've seen it is it's dropped from 70 during big team battle. That's usually what I average, and it'll drop to about 45. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, even when you turn all the graphic settings all the way down, it doesn't make a difference. You still get the same frame rate. So
yeah, that's
hopefully they
why.
work on that.
Yeah, that's why part of me is wondering if BTB just seems to have some just extra spiciness about it. Because from me running into the stability issues in general to the original Xboxes, occasionally having a performance hitch that causes a application crash, and then on PC, even from Verile, who's somebody that I play games with a lot on stream, she was playing on PC, and but the thing is, she's got almost a different thing, a different perspective on it. She runs the AMD side, not too many issues when it comes to playing it. So I'm wondering if there's just maybe or like the added benefit of getting it to run on the consoles, which all run off of AMD hardware, maybe made the jump. I haven't had the chance to check it out with my PC yet because I'm just running a 2080 Super and I'm out of the AMD family. So if there was going to be a PC to have some problems, mine would be it. But you're not wrong. I saw somebody come into my chat having troubles with his. He had it on PC rocking a 3070, literally the best specs in the world. His didn't make it. His didn't even boot. He would hit start on Steam or launch on Steam. The launch would turn into playing and then would turn back to blue saying launch again. He would get no indication that it crashed. It just wouldn't start. However, he then installed it from the Xbox Game Store and played like a charm, zero problems. So I'm not sure exactly what the issue is, but hopefully as time goes on we can hammer those out.
I really hope that when Digital Foundry inevitably does their videos, that I'm sure they will, but they'll break down each individual version on PC, like
Mm.
Game Pass versus, Steam and, all the alike, and see what the differences are in terms of performance and whatnot.
Yeah, I think my biggest issue is the same issue a lot of people are having, and it's just the speed at which you gain experience, which I know that they've
Yeah,
fixed or are working on.
addressed is a
Yeah,
better word.
the fact that you gain more experience doing these weird objectives instead of just playing the game is a little weird to me. I feel like it should be the other way. Me and Ryan, we play a lot of Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer, and the way they have theirs structured is a majority of your experience will come from actually playing through the matches. And if you complete bonus objectives here and there, you'll gain extra experience from that. And I really like that model. I think trying to force players to use like certain weapons in certain situations kind of makes the game more grindy, but it's also not beneficial if you're playing on a team because now you're focused so much on like I need to get this kind of kill with this weapon over here instead of actually playing the game and helping the people that you're playing with. So I'm sure they'll keep making adjustments. This is only what Battle Pass season 1, So
Yep.
it's still at the
Early Battle
beginning.
Pass
Yeah,
Season 1.
it's the beta, so they still have a lot of time to fix things. But the full game itself will launch on December 8th.
And there's actually like a lot of stuff to clarify with that too. So I don't know how much you guys have dug into it, but I've actually taken the time because a lot of people have complained that free players don't get a whole lot. They're not wrong. They're really not wrong, and
Yeah,
that's
it's
traditionally that's usually the case. It sounds horrible, um, but I've usually seen that be the case. However, I am seeing something completely different. We haven't quite let it go too far. We've only been like what, a week out since its launch. I would say we're almost to come Monday. But as of this recording, Monday is in like 2 days. Um, and we haven't even seen their fracture event. So they have this fracture event that's coming out. They recently did it. I sent a screenshot to a buddy of mine who was complaining about it. He's like, "There's not a whole lot for free players, and I can't wait for this challenge thing to come out, and I have to pay for that too." And but no, Xbox straight up they posted a thing that says I'll have to see if I can find the picture because they have like a specific wording they use. But they say that free content events over the course of a season are just as important as the battle pass and stuff like that. With their first one being a fracture event uh for a themed kind of like samurai inspired Spartan armor. It may not be to everybody's taste, but these events kind of play on top of the battle pass. You don't have to pick where your progression goes. You can do both at the exact same time. So, and it seems that those are free even if you don't buy the battle pass. Those events and the ability to do them are available to you even if you what is it? Even if you don't buy the battle pass, so you can still get in on that. I consider that to be something that was free for even free players. So there's a lot of complaints. The XP1 is a big one. I noticed it too. In fact, during my stream when I was playing it for like 8 hours straight, I think I leveled up to level 2.
yeah.
Um, it was pretty spicy. But for a game like Halo, I usually pick the same 3 armor pieces and then never look at the customization again. So maybe I'm just not the target audience for that. I do
Yeah.
plan to get the battle pass at some point,
For
but like for me, this is the meat and potatoes Halo experience for multiplayer.
hmm
Um, obviously sans Forge, which will eventually make its way. I'm still impressed that's included in the free to play title. Like you could just make maps. Um, but that stuff being free to play is just enough for me. The gameplay is solid and fantastic. Literally, the only complaints right now I've seen leveled are slight little gameplay issues, like no collision, friendly fire, stuff like that. But yeah, the big one is still the battle pass, just XP, and I have to agree, the XP gain is just stanky. And watching somebody ignore the objective because they need mangler kills is kind of frustrating,
yeah.
especially in such a heavily team-focused game.
Yeah, because when I was finishing matches and I would see my experience go up just a tiny, tiny bit, it's like, kind of felt like I did more than what I'm being rewarded for in this game. But as far as like how it feels, this legitimately feels really good. It feels like
Yeah.
343 has found a really good balance between old Halo and new Halo. And even when I played Halo 4 and Halo 5, those didn't quite feel as good to me. But the moment I started playing this one, I'm like, oh yeah, this is Halo. It just
Not
feels right.
not that 5 gave you a chance to figure it out. The skill gap was ginormous in 5. You were either the best Halo player in the planet or you were mopped constantly.
Yeah.
Gibby, how about you, man? You've been quiet. I feel like you're reserving a big giant bombshell hot take. Hit me with it.
I guess I kind of am in the minority, but not in a bad way.
Yeah.
I noticed I was definitely leveling up slow.
hmm
Mm.
However, I was playing ranked arena with a coworker of mine, and I was having such a good time, and I felt myself memorizing the maps, and I felt myself, you know, getting a
Yeah.
better feel of the game and understanding the game
Learning the
to the point
dance.
where I was more concerned about just getting better at the game, and I wasn't
hmm
even paying attention to the progression.
Yes. Yes.
So,
I touch on it here, but that's definitely me. Like me, the minute I started playing, it was memorizing jumps. It was finding ways to tackle that 2-tier tower because people get the ball up there and they just hold it. It was memorizing bank shots for grenades. It was memorizing weapon spawns, which is a little tough with the weapon pads. I found it, and especially with different weapons at the weapon pads each game mode. I'm finding out, not all the weapon pads are unified. Um, but I'm definitely with you that for me personally, like yeah, there's concerns about the battle pass. I reserve them absolutely, but when it comes to the raw meat and potatoes of the game, I'm absolutely more in tune. Like once the match starts, I couldn't give any less of a crap like what my XP gains are once I start playing. I'm more worried about taking optimal flag paths, breaking down this like
Nerd.
wall that they've got on the right. Nerd, don't start with me. Dude, to take a word from you, I'm just built different, my
Built
dude. You just
different.
you can't just harp on me, man. You just don't understand.
Yeah,
And I'm glad when Kimmy I played this on stream and Kimmy actually said it on stream before is that he's actually looking forward to like getting good at this. In the back
Mhm.
of my head, I'm like, that's when I know Halo's like back because I Halo 5 came out. I was the only one who found the diamond in the rough that existed with 5. Let me put it this way: it was a very rough diamond. But hearing Kimmy Gibbler say it and then seeing you, Corduroy, even though you needed a slight adjustment period for the drop to 30.
Mhm.
um Hearing you guys come out of the woodwork and talk about that has been that's been the best thing for me out of this beta, is just hearing my friends come back and saying, man, I can't wait to play some Halo. And I'm just like, damn right, man, let's go.
This feels like Halo to me. Like no disrespect to 4 and 5, they're not bad games, but this one just feels like, oh hey, this is like the Halo that I remember. And it's kind of cool how you guys bring up the whole not really focusing on the experience boost, because I kind of start to feel like maybe that's a generational thing where
It is,
of
it really
like
is.
for a lot of the younger generation who's used to like Fortnite and all these different
My progression.
yeah, all these progression systems and microtransactions and buying skins. They're used to these big XP gains, and I want to make my character look like this, and I want to make my character look like that. And
Master Chief needs to floss.
yeah, we're from the, I guess, boomer generation of gamers now. That's not what it was when we played. When we played, it was like maybe we can either have fun or like get good at the game, but we weren't so focused on my character needs to glow neon pink and have like a backpack on and, like you said, do the floss. At the end of the day, it's not a big deal for me, but I did notice like, I'm not gaining much experience. But it's like Ryan said, it's about learning the game, learning the maps, and actually trying to get better. And I think that's
Yeah,
a really interesting split between gamer generations.
yeah,
I
that's a
agree.
yeah, that's definitely something that somebody brought up too, saying that seeing the complaints about Halo right now just kind of shows the gap in the generational gap between
Mm-hmm.
those who played. Because Ryan, you can attest to this, my dude. How many matches a night of Halo 3 multiplayer dressed up like the generic ass Spartan did we play? And never once did I say to myself, man, I sure wish I could be a different color.
Never, because it wasn't really a thing back
Mm-mm.
then.
I honestly didn't give a shit. The only thing that came across my mind was how in the world are all 4 of us here and they flank us every single time? How does that keep happening?
And they always had that fucking Hayabusa helmet on every
Oh
goddamn
God,
time, but whatever.
I remember
Yep,
that.
yep. I spent the better part of 3 weeks trying to kill myself with the cone on the pit, thinking that if I did it, I would totally score some recon armor. That's the closest I got to obsessing over customization. And it was more so just the prestige of that customization. Otherwise, it was getting the flag in a spot. It was getting rank 50 in Team Slayer. It was getting rank 50 in solos. It was playing Jenga with my friends. It really wasn't about this. Now, for all of us, I hope we address these problems because I know for some people this battle pass is a thing. Hell, for Microsoft's monetization, for this to be successful, it kind of relies on that. They need to sweeten that pot. There are definitely things to address.
Mm-hmm.
But if you told me right now, like, is that a make or break thing for you? Like making no progression per match? I'm like, no, you don't understand. I did make progression in the match. All right. I found out I found out that if you approach from the left, there's actually a small crate that you can hop onto that gets you up to the second tier, and no one ever expects it because they think the only route up is the stairs. And by the way, that's a real thing. In the streets map, there is a control point in strongholds. I believe it's B point that's on a second level. And if you jump on the planter next to it, you can clamber over the railing and get to B without having to take the stair approaches at all. And people still, to this day, like as of last night, don't expect it. And that's my progression. And Kimmy, you got it, and Corduroy, it's there. But you guys know that that's the type of progression. Walking away from a match knowing more than you did last time,
Mm-hmm.
even if what you know is I don't know as much as I thought I did.
Yeah, so
Ugh,
the
it's good for that to be
yeah, the
back.
multiplayer so far pretty good. I hope that the campaign is good. Microsoft's got Forza Horizon 5. So it kind of seems like they're taking the steps to have a, I don't want to say decent because these are good games, a good library of exclusives, which is what they really need
Yeah,
for this next upcoming console generation.
yeah. In Forza's defense, they totally had it in 4 too. We just
Yeah.
all slept
Mm-hmm.
on it. I played the shit out of 4 myself.
If you guys are ready to move on from Halo, we have the second announcement, which is a documentary, which is actually pretty cool. I really like stuff like that, especially when it's in regards to gaming. But they're going to be releasing a 6-episode documentary called Power On, the story of Xbox, which will come out on December 13th. It's going to be on platforms like Roku, IMDb TV, YouTube, Redbox, and others to come. But it's basically going to chronicle Microsoft's beginning Xbox journey to the Red Ring of Death to where they are now. So it'll be interesting
Oh,
to see how the company started, how they deal with certain things. I remember I wrote a research paper in high school on the Red Ring of Death. So there's a lot of stuff I learned about that situation. It'll be interesting even to see if how they handled the launch of the Xbox One and how that just kind of
hmm.
blew up in their
I have
faces. Yeah,
even
and
even I have some. I'm the biggest X-Boy fan in the world, and even I
yeah,
look back at that and just like there were
that
so many
that
dumb
was
things
bad.
done that day.
Yeah, but
I want to know
Done.
from both of y'all if you can remember where did you get your original Xbox from? What was the
Uh,
first game you got for it?
I
And
remember.
what was the first game you played on Xbox Live, whether it was 360 or original?
You want to go first, Jeremy, or you want me to go?
uh, I can. Mine's real quick. First console I got was a Xbox that may or may not have been modded to play Halo 2, copied to a DVD. Um, First game I got, Halo 2. First game I played on Xbox Live. Take a wild guess. It was Halo 2.
Yeah, for me, my first Xbox, I got it from GameStop, which is still around. That location is still there. Um,
Good to
and
hear.
my mom let me get 2 games. She surprised me at the time because I thought I was
Whoa.
just pre-ordering Metal Gear Solid 2. So when I went up to the counter, there was an Xbox there. There was a guy who was supposed to pick it up, but he never did. Like days after the console launched, he just left it there, and that was the one they had. And my mom was like, "You got straight A's. You can get an Xbox." So I got Dead or Alive 3 because I really like Dead or Alive. And then I've told Ryan this story multiple times. When they were trying to figure out what kind
Oh
of
boy.
second game to get, the guy was like, "Well, what are you here for?" I'm like, "I'm pre-ordering Metal Gear Solid 2." And he's like, "Well, if you like Metal Gear, you're gonna love Halo." And those are 2 completely different games. So the first
Yeah,
two,
yeah, even I'm like, what?
yeah. So the first 2 games I got were DOA 3 and Halo.
Objection though. God damn. He hooked you up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean, it's a wild suggestion, but
Yeah,
he wasn't
I mean,
wrong.
yeah, it was a
um, he,
good game, but DOA 3
he's
was the first
yeah.
Xbox game I played. Um, and I think the first game I played online, ugh, might have been Gears of War.
Oh, that's a hot jump. Dang,
Yeah, because I didn't get
you just
Xbox Live,
skipped
and
all of one.
yeah, I didn't get Live until the 360 because we had dial-up internet at the time.
Ah, yeah, that'll be the kicker.
Yeah, and
I think it was like they had the broadband restriction, didn't they?
I think playing Gears online with Ryan was the first time I played a 360 game online. What about you, Ryan?
I got my original Xbox from Sears, as a matter of fact.
Whoa,
Um, my very first game was Jet Set Radio Future, one of the
Nice,
nice.
greatest
That's
games of all time.
great soundtrack.
And
classic.
I never had many games for my original Xbox, but one of the games that I got because I finally play online was Battlefield Modern Combat.
Oh God.
Yo,
And that
that
was
was
the
a
first online experience I ever had, and I didn't know any better at the
so
time. I
sorry,
thought it was
man.
pretty amazing, but that's a rough game, man. That's
It
not a
is.
great game. But
It
playing
is.
it online for the first time was pretty
Yeah,
amazing.
I think that makes any game, regardless of the quality, the fact that you're on a console and you can go online and you can chat with people, I think that just kind of sweetens the whole deal, especially since we were so young when, the 360 came out.
Well, I mean, I was 15. Forget I kind of predate some of you guys by like a year or two. some depending on who I'm talking to. So sometimes they're like, "Man, I remember
Well,
when
yeah, it was
Xbox 360 came out, and
2005.
I was so young."
Yeah, I
And in the back
was.
of my head, I'm like, "But I wasn't that young.
Yeah, I
Like
was
I was in high
15.
school."
It felt like, well, I mean, like we're 15 years old. Like that's young
Yeah,
compared to like
yeah. I
now.
guess that is 15 years ago now, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but like
Please don't tell me.
that was such a new experience for a lot of us because I'm sure we all had played like PC games online from time to time, especially me with like dial-up internet. I remember playing like Trackmania with like a bunch of people just like crashing into each other and like going up these crazy ramps that were built, or like Unreal Tournament. Did anyone else play Unreal on PC
Uh,
online?
I
Of
eventually
course.
convinced my mom to let me have it, but yes.
Yeah, so we all kind of went from that being our
Dude, me and you put hella time in a Halo on PC.
yeah, you oh, we should tell that story real quick where
I
you
didn't know you guys at the time.
yeah,
Just as an aside, I also put a lot of time into Halo 1 PC with the clan and all kinds of cool stuff.
so
Sadly, those times predate me knowing these
yeah,
guys.
for
So
me and
we have
Ryan,
separate things.
uh, we didn't own Halo on PC. We had the demo, which let you do quite a bit online. So one day we were playing Blood Gulch, and this dude joins the server, and he goes, "Hey, you guys want to make a machinima with me?" And we're like, "Sure." So he's directing us on how to move and where to stand, and the guy's like, "All right, I got the footage I need," and he leaves. And I think it might have been the following day at school. Ryan's like, "Yo, man, like my internet's not acting right. My computer isn't acting right. I think that guy in Halo hacked my internet." And for
That
like
motherfucker.
for that whole week, you were so paranoid that that machinima guy borked your computer and your connection because of this machinima that we never saw. The guy never
Yeah,
contacted us.
I had bad internet and a bad computer for a whole week and
Yep.
nothing to show for it.
Yep. And you thought it was Mr. Machinima Man. And I wonder what
This
happened to that guy.
this explains a lot, actually.
He could still be playing the Halo PC demo
Yeah.
to this.
Still asking, like 12, 13, 14-year-old, maybe even 15-year-old people, "Hey, you want to be in my machinima?" And then he hacks their damn internet, the bastard.
Yep. So that was my greatest Halo experience. Was playing that online with Ryan because you could do a lot in the demo, surprisingly.
Yo, my greatest Halo experience. Ryan, were you with on this? We had like a LAN party with Tony, Kevin Bennett. We had a bunch of them, and we played Halo 1. And they had the genius idea. They said, Jeremy, you're really good at Halo, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, absolutely." There's two of these with these guys, by the way. And this has happened twice. Very quick ones though. He's like, "You're good at Halo, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "You got history with it?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "All right, you're gonna be on a team. The rest of us will be on the other team." I was like, "Wait, hold on, on a second." They put themselves. We play capture the flag on Blood Gulch, and this is all I get to do. I didn't even need to do base defense. All I did was grab the sniper rifle, take the teleporter, and take the far hill near their base. They couldn't get my flag from my base to theirs because I kept sniping them out of the Warthog. I think I ended with I finally ended with 76 kills,
Jesus.
and the timer ran out. And I was using the made up name, the Big L. And what is it? Kevin looks right at me. He's like, "What's the L stand for?" And I said, "I don't know, man." And he looks me dead in the face. He says, "The L stands for sniper." And it was the dumbest thing in the world. Hearing his baritone voice belt that off. And from that day forward, I actually do have like a backup name that I use on occasion. It's just called the Big L 76. And I use that from day to day for signing up for stuff when I don't want to associate with my account. The other situation was Halo 3 when, again, the same dude, Kevin, has the genius side. He's like, "I want to make a pro Halo team for Halo 3." I was like, "Okay, well, I'm down. Who
This is
else
the
we
one
got?"
I was there for. I wasn't there for the first one.
Yeah, you were there for that one. Yeah, we were all gonna do this. It was great. We had this big plan. We were all gonna get good. In the back of mine and Ryan's mind, we were like, "Okay, well, somebody's gonna get good. It's not us because we're pretty much already on top of this." Uh, I love Kevin to death. Don't get me wrong, but playing Halo as as a master was not his specialty. But we had Lorenzo there too. It was pretty cool. And I remember we had a lot of great practice matches. But one time I think we were all in one place. Were you there at his house for this one? I can't
Yeah,
remember because
I believe so. I'm pretty
yeah,
sure I was.
we're at his house now. Meanwhile, let me put it this way: I'm not exactly that was like when I was peak Halo. Like my abilities in Halo will never be higher. I will never be this good again. I wish I was kidding. So again, we have this genius idea. They're like, you know what? We're gonna practice. We're gonna have a practice run. I'm like, okay, cool. This is gonna be great. And they're like, Jeremy, you're on Team A. I'm like, okay. And he's like, the rest of us are on Team B. I'm like, Kevin, this didn't work out for you last time, man. Like, why are you doing this to me every time we play Halo? And so we did. We hop on the pit. We play some Team Slayer. We using the MLG rules. We were super into it. We got the MLG version of the game mode, all the cool stuff, all the cool trimmings. One situation I remember in particular was when I don't know if you guys remember the pit, but there's each base. If you go like when you're standing on the tower, if you look down your like side, there's a little corner where a shotgun spawns, just across from where the rockets spawn in that hallway. It's like a little cubby, two entryways. All right, very easy to keep track of. I'm approaching. I have a sniper rifle in hand and I have my battle rifle in the back pocket. I'm not really worried about it myself. I'm walking up with a sniper rifle. I know they're there. It's pretty obvious, mostly because they keep saying grab the shotgun and watch the corner where the rockets spawn. I'm like, well, that pretty much narrows it down. So I start walking over there. I hear Lorenzo panic. Dude, he's coming for rocket spawn right now. And Kevin says, dude, we've got the shotgun. You've got the mauler. Like, literally, he's just walking into this. He's going to die. All right? I start walking. This all happens in the span of 3 seconds. I'm going to let you know right now. I start walking in. Kevin pulls the corner with the shotgun. He fires, misses. I dome him in a second flat. Instead, Lorenzo lets out this eep as he pulls the corner with a mauler, fires a shot. He comes in for the melee, but as he's sliding across to melee me, I dome him as well with a no scope. He throws the controller down. He's like, we got this, Lorenzo. We're gonna get him, Lorenzo. He just walked in and stormed us. He was so pissed. Kevin's on the ground dying. And Lorenzo's losing his mind. Oh, man. And that day for it, literally that day, Kevin was like, okay, I don't know about this pro Halo thing.
Lorenzo was a
I see.
character.
Yes. It was hilarious.
He is
Yeah,
still
he's
alive. He's not dead.
Yes, I want to say that our memories of him are a character. He's still a character, but I haven't hung out with that dude not since a flag came out. I apologize. We're kind of just reminiscing here, aren't we?
It's
Whoops.
fine. It makes it fun. I was gonna say
I
we
just
should.
remember.
You go on.
I was just gonna say, Ryan, you remember a certain situation with a certain flag?
Yeah, unfortunately I do. That whole that whole night was just, man.
Yeah, that's
Basic. How can I how can I break? See, I can't tell this story without going off. So I
no,
should
no.
probably not.
Look, I'll give you the nice run up. Basically, okay. We found out that everybody's real chill, but can turn into like the stereotypical white guy in like a second flat. Tons of people we thought we knew turned completely different the minute they heard what happened, and it is absolutely ridiculous. And then I
Not
watched
to
as
say what was done was 100%
legitimate.
okay, but the
No,
reaction that we got was
yeah,
completely
all
like triple
it's
because of,
because of very particular particular reasons.
yeah.
Do I want to know what happened?
All right, Corduroy, when it's over, we'll give you the full rundown because I'll have to give like we'll have to give Kimby like 10 minutes straight just on the mic alone, just ranting. He has a lot to say about that night for good fucking reason. Anyway, you could chop some of this up. I brought it up, and then the minute he says that, I'm like, oh, I completely forgot he has a very that's not actually 100% a great memory anymore these days. I think it's actually soured over the years.
I was just gonna say that we should start our own esports team where Jeremy's primarily the first-person shooter guy. Ryan is the primarily fighting game guy, but he's really good at anything. And then I'm the Dissidia NT guy.
Well, there's got to be
Well,
somebody
damn,
playing
thank
City
you.
NT. How come I'm not good at rudimentarily good at everything? Hold on a second. Now I've got questions.
Well, I mean, you're at least good at multiple games. I got one in my pocket, and that's it. The one that nobody wants to play with me.
I'll admit, you hand me any game and I can be an amateur at it. However, if you hand me any game and then say train with Kimmy Gibbler, I'll suddenly become an idiot. Like I don't know what it is, but playing against him, he baits me into all of my worst habits every single time, and I don't like how I get bent over and taken advantage of when we play. He's like, "You're learning." I'm like, I feel like I'm just getting screwed, but
Yeah.
whatever. You were always like, I remember we picked up. I don't want to reminisce too much, but basically, this dude. I wish I was kidding. It's not without merit. All right, Kimmy Gibbler, dead serious. You can tell him. You can hand him any game. Give him like 3 days, and the next time you'll see him, he'll have the still training banner on. His like call sign will be literally still learning or something like that,
Yeah,
and he'll be busting out combos that you didn't even know existed.
Ryan's really good at inflicting the mental damage.
It's not even intentional because he's literally, it's not wrong.
If
He's
I
never
see, if
not.
I, the reason I like that, I use that banner and everything, even in Mortal Kombat 11. The way
Yep.
I see it is, if I go into a match and I see something new or I've never seen before, or I see that this new character beats something that I didn't know that, you know, that I could do, but it's not as good as I thought it was, I guess I'm trying to say.
Mm.
You're always learning every single match.
Yeah, you're
Yep.
constantly evolving.
I'm still waiting for that. I'm still waiting for that marathon stream of you playing Dan, and you'll end it when you finally lose. Isn't there some game awards we're supposed to talk about?
We actually have one Xbox story left, and
Oh, we do.
It's
Yes.
to celebrate 20 years of Xbox. They've added 70 new backward compatible games. Quick little cliff note that Microsoft just kind of like tooted out there without big fanfare or mentions. This is actually the last backwards compatible update that they're going to be doing for the foreseeable future.
Pretty
So
obvious to me.
if your games are not backwards compatible yet, they're not coming. So there's one game that I really want to play that's just never going to be backwards compatible. And a lot of these issues are because of licensing. They just either couldn't get the licensing to get the game back on Xbox
Yeah.
One, or it's too
Brute
expensive.
force.
Is Brute Force still not? Or is it?
I have no idea.
I'll check for
I
you
just
guys.
threw
You
out
guys
a
keep
random
going. I'll
game.
check
No,
it.
the one game that I want is the first Buffy the Vampire Slayer game. I want to be able to play that on my Xbox
Oh,
One.
I can see why that didn't make it.
And I can't. And it's such a hidden gem of a game. So much better than the second one. I just want to play it again, and I can't. I have to actually. I think I can play it on my 360. I think it's backwards compatible on that. It might not be, but I might have to actually bust out the old ass Xbox if I want to play Buffy again, which is unfortunate.
Brute Force is not backwards compatible.
Oh
Confirmed.
wow.
We could just
I
end the
could be
podcast here. There's no reason to even continue going.
I
No,
could be making this up, but a couple weeks ago I listened to that documentary, that Killer Instinct one that Maximilian dude like produced or was in or whatever.
Mhm.
And didn't they mention that the original Xbox Buffy combat system had an influence on Killer Instinct in some way?
Yeah.
Or am I making that up?
No, the developers who made KI back in the day eventually became the Collective, and they were the ones who developed the first Buffy game. They did an Indiana Jones game on Xbox, and they did Star
That
Wars.
game is backwards compatible, by the way, the Indiana Jones one.
Damn. And they did Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith, which is a really decent game too. But when you
And
go,
that was also part of the new
yeah.
backwards
So
compatibility. There you
I'm
go.
gonna play that one. So they went from the Collective, and eventually they became, I think it was Iron Galaxy or Iron Galaxies. But the basis for how Buffy controls is very much like a fighting game character. She's got combo attacks, she's got charge attacks, she's got timed attacks, she's got weapon based attacks. So it's pretty cool to see how they went from KI to Buffy to Indiana Jones, Star Wars, back to KI. So that's a cool little tidbit.
To talk about the backwards compatibility, I mean, anybody who's dealt with the PC backwards compatibility knows that getting the game to run on the emulator is like half the battle, not even. The other half is making it run properly and bug free. And I think that's kind of the reason why they've stopped off, is they've been pretty much just handing these out. There's been no payment. You don't need Xbox Live Gold. You don't need any of this stuff. Like, none of that is required to use backwards compatibility. You don't even have to rebuy the game, technically.
Nope.
If you've got the copy right there in your hand, you could just pop that baby in the disk drive. It'll say, oh, here it is. Let me pull up the backwards compatible version for you. And it pops it in. And I think that's the issue, is that every time they do those backwards compatibilities, like when they go to throw up a title, they have to get it running and then spend their time bug fixing the game. Like the developers, the original developers aren't involved. And people work on Dolphin, and people have worked on other ways to get a hold of. That wasn't a sarcastic cough, by the way. But ways to get a hold of playing older games on newer hardware. They can attest to that type of thing where they getting the game on there is neat, but like you'll have backface issues with textures, you'll have CPU problems, you'll have all kinds of fun spiciness that happens just because the games themselves, sometimes the developers have taken some very interesting paths to get the game to run on that hardware. I remember Halo Reach notoriously, the way they handled split screen in Halo Reach actually caused issues when it released on backwards compatibility, where when you weren't playing on split screen, it was still using the split screen assets. So the game looked really bad. That eventually did get hammered out, but like that's the type of work they require. And then above that, they've also been going above and beyond with like the FPS boost, unlocking the frame rate for certain games and being able to go up to 4K. Like I think all of Gears of War, or not 4K, sorry, 60 FPS, and like all of Gears of War now, I think from the first all the way up to the third, even Judgment, now supports 60 FPS. I think some have to drop from 4K because they had the internal scaling. Some have to drop from 4K to 1440p. But like to see that much stuff go, I mean, I was never surprised when they said that eventually this was going to run out. In fact, I thought we were already done. So I was blown away that these titles were just dropped on us. Here you go, you're welcome.
Yep.
I was like, whoa.
This is the final update, but that's the one thing you can give Microsoft props to is more than Nintendo and Sony is that they put so much effort into backwards
Especially
compatibility.
Nintendo.
So to be able to have this as a feature, uh, they've added so many games over the years. I don't have the exact number, but it's pretty cool. Other than the fact that I can't fricking play Buffy, it's pretty cool.
That one screams licensing issues.
Yeah. And then we do have one more story from the Xbox event, which is you could win over 1,000 prizes thanks to Dwayne The Rock Johnson in Netflix's Red Notice, which just a quick little story. I attempted to play this game. The best part of it was when it loaded up and you had to put your thumb on the screen because I felt like I was a super spy hacking into a program and it was identifying my thumbprint, and then I got to play the game, which was super broken. But it was just a trivia game, like answering questions about the movie or about Xbox's history, and uh, it was broken. I couldn't even submit my information because I couldn't get the drop-down menu to select United States, so it was just a waste of time. But before
Did you
we,
watch them?
yeah, I thought the movie itself was fine. It's I think I jokingly said it's like movie the movie or like action movie the
Yeah.
movie, but
Yeah, you watch it and you go, wow, what a movie.
yeah,
And you just move on.
it's not bad. It's not revolutionary, but I had fun watching it. Yeah, before we get to the Game Awards stuff, Ryan, you said you had some Black Friday deals that you wanted to share.
Yeah, a lot of them are active right now, but even more, especially at Walmart, are going active like on the actual Black Friday day. But ones that stood out to me were Doom Eternal. The cheapest I saw that is $15. The
Absolute
reason I really
steal.
wanted to bring that up was the fact that it just got Battle Mode 2.0, and it got Horde Mode, and it got two more master levels. And you don't have to pay for any of that. You just pay $15. You get the campaign, Horde Mode, Battle Mode. It's a good time. I saw Demon Souls that was on Amazon for $30, considering the game is $70, which is
A lot.
something. Yeah, it's crazy. So the fact that you can get that for $30 is awesome. Resident Evil Village is $20 pretty much everywhere. Really great game. Deathloop
But
I saw for 25 at GameStop. That might be 20 elsewhere, but 25 was the cheapest I saw it. And Deathloop is pretty good. Not the greatest game, but we'll talk about that later.
it it is $20. That's like just it's not 60. So like can't complain too much. I mean, I still find a way to, but
And the big one for me is Guardians of the Galaxy at
Yeah.
$30 at Best Buy,
yeah,
considering the game is not even a month old.
Wow.
I dropped 60 on that game. I don't regret it.
same.
Completely
Great
worth
game.
it. And the fact that you can get it for 30 right now is kind of ridiculous.
That's a steal.
It's Yeah, it's an abs. Just as an aside, that game is a gem. If you thought Spider-Man PS4 was a fantastic way to handle a Marvel property, like Guardians does that, but you can play it on Xbox or PC as well. It's
And the last
fantastic.
one I wanted to mention is just really weird and don't laugh, but Jump Force is $10 on PSN right now. The only reason I'm mentioning that is because it's going to be delisted
Yeah.
pretty soon, and you won't be able to buy it digitally anymore. So just dropping $10 on it just to have it, I don't think is a completely terrible idea.
Well, it's
But
it's being delisted, but they're gonna get rid of the online, right?
yeah, the
Yes.
servers are going offline as well.
Okay.
And
That
yeah, but
there's a
still, I think
campaign,
just to
right?
have the game, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you can still create a character and do the campaign. Uh, for $10, I definitely still think is at least worth having in the library.
That's pretty
But
cool.
yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I would
That
suspect that there would be like console deals as well, or like bundles, at the
yeah,
usual like GameStops, Best Buys.
that'll probably get released as we get closer to
Bundles
as
that you can't actually get.
Walmart. Oh my God!
yeah,
Did you guys see that photo of the Walmart warehouse stacked with PS5s?
that all got bought online.
No, they were specifically for their Walmart like
Those
membership
have to
people.
be for like Black Friday or something, man. I saw that
Yeah,
picture. And
apparently, like how Best Buy has like their membership where they have exclusive stock for their members.
Yeah.
Walmart does the same thing, and apparently
Oh,
those PS5s are for the Walmart member people, so only they can
yeah, I
buy
remember seeing that.
it.
Yeah, there's a whole article about how that's kind of cancerous, and I have to agree a
Yeah.
little bit.
Um,
But anyway,
Speaking of that, you can actually go to Costco and get a Series S just by walking in. If you're a member of Costco anyway, you can go in and they have a ton of them readily available. They have a whole like station dedicated to the Series S, so you can go in, grab that big ass Costco card, and take it to the registers, and you can get yourself a Series S like pretty easily, which is pretty cool.
yeah, and that the Costco membership pays for itself in my experience.
Yeah, $100 for
Yeah,
a
I have
year
one.
long. That's a steal.
They Yeah, the prices aren't bad, especially if you're like stocking up on bulk stuff. Like
Hmm.
we bought like seasoning because uh let's just say I brought a totally different meaning to the idea to the word season your chicken, and my family is very simple. So I'm the type of dude who like gets a giant vat of seasoning, throws them breasts in there, and just kind of shakes that baby around, rubs it in. A lot of seasoning. I like a lot of seasoning. But we were going through the little ones too much, and Costco's got those big giant ones. This isn't meant to be an ad for Costco,
No,
but like
it's
if you're
just a
thinking like
genuinely
a
great place to
Costco,
shop.
yeah, if you're like, why would I want a Costco membership just to get an Xbox? I'm like, no, see, you don't understand. That Costco membership, if you got one nearby, will pay for itself. Absolutely. You
Costco and
won't be
Sam's
just doing
Club.
it for that.
Not
A
everybody has
little
a
more
Sam's
Costco.
Club,
Yeah,
but it's the same online too. You can't buy a Series S unless you're a Costco member. So they
yeah.
don't sell the Series X though, just the S.
real
That's where I ended up
quick, I
getting my
want to
bundle.
say it's really disappointing that so many people are gonna go this holiday without a new console. So if you actually manage to have one, y'all should really appreciate it
Hmm.
and play that bitch as soon as you get it and as much as you
Yo,
can, cause it's crazy, man. It's really disappointing.
yeah. And especially fighting against scalpers and stuff, I'll tell you, like, that's a lot of people are like, should I get a hold of a new console? When I got a hold of my Series X, um, I don't recommend that experience at all. It was literally 2 weeks of watching 15 storefronts refreshing constantly on my homepage, and
And
taking
that's
in
how
any
my
rumor of
experience was
restocks.
at Target.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
got super lucky with mine.
I can't wait for you to tell. Like, how'd you get yours? Oh, I just walked in one day and they're like, "You want a PS5?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
No,
It's
I
like we hear us struggle, and you
yeah.
are like, "Ah, yeah, I got it. It's fine."
I told Ryan this last time we played a game. I was in a Twitch chat. Kyle Bossman was the guy I was watching. He's got a really cool chat room, and they were monitoring the pre-orders. And the pre-orders for the PS5 were supposed to hit the following day, but Walmart jumped the gun and released their pre-orders early, so everyone else followed up. So I was able to actually get an Amazon link to the PS5 disc-based version and actually grab one and put it in the cart, and I got it. And I told Ryan, even the day that the console shipped out, I was convinced that they were going to email me saying that they ran out of stock and I wasn't going to get one. But somehow I managed to get one launch week. So that was pretty cool.
Nice.
I was the same way with Target. I added it to cart. I hit checkout probably 20 to 25 times before it went through, but I wasn't convinced until I was at the store and I had it in my hand, but it all worked out. And again, I'm super grateful it did.
Yeah.
Uh, I had 3 carts attempting to check out all at the same time. One for a bundle at $800,
Damn.
one for a single one at $500. And then the sign up for their I just needed the credit check. The sign up for their all access, which is still a fantastic deal because you don't end up paying a whole lot on top of that. Xboxes are they're all access. You add up the stuff, I think you actually save something in the vein of like $40 by the end of it, but you don't actually spend a ton, you know. But yeah, I had 3 of them going, and unfortunately, kind of unfortunately, the only one that went through was the damn bundle. So rest in peace, my $800. I did get Hitman 2 and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, an extra controller, and the the console itself. So I mean, it wasn't a bad bundle.
Yeah.
I have yet to play either game, but
That sounds like a GameStop bundle.
Yeah.
it was a GameStop bundle. Yeah, it was. It was a GameStop bundle. Yeah. I can't say it wasn't a brilliant deal because I haven't really played the games. Spare controller though, that wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
I got to see what that was like before I handed it off because I own an Elite.
I thought about getting a Series S, but I think I might hold out for an X when those come or become readily available.
It depends on what you're looking for. I
Yeah.
found that from what I've seen of the S and the performance metrics I've seen from the two, um, like weirdly enough, the difference really does seem to be coming down to, that 4K difference. I mean, the
Yeah.
X can push out some wild visuals, but so long as they put the attention, the S isn't as behind the X as we thought it was going to be. Like, because the S is technically, from a raw graphical standpoint, is like actually slightly lower than the Xbox One X. But the difference is they got the full CPU power though, so
Yeah.
and that made all the difference.
I'll probably still end up holding out. But
Oh yeah, no. But anyway, here we got a Game Awards.
yeah, if you guys are ready to move on to the Game Awards, which this part's a little confusing because I got an email from them saying that the show was going to be live on December 10th, but then immediately below that, it says stream the show live December 9th. So I'm assuming the 9th is the correct date. It's going to be on a Thursday, but they did release the nominations earlier this week, and we are going to go through them, starting with the Game of the Year. Our first nominee is Deathloop, followed by It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and Resident Evil Village. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? Because there's some controversy surrounding the Game of the Year category.
Ryan, you go first on this one. I want to hear it. I'm ready.
The only one I haven't played on this list is Ratchet and Clank. I actually meant to buy that last night, but I ended up going to sleep instead, which was a pretty good idea.
All things considered.
Wait, I lied. I didn't play It Takes Two as well.
I
like
still might
installed
pick that up.
but
Yeah.
I hear a co-op partner is like necessary.
Yep.
So like, I think to myself, I should play It Takes Two, and they're like, you need another person to play with. I'm like, well, I guess I'm never playing this. Let's go boot something else up.
out of this list, I definitely think Metroid Dread it's by far the highest quality one that I've played. I thought Resident Evil Village was really good, and
what I hear
I,
was it was good, but it was like there was just enough spice to it that when people saw it on the Game of the Year award thing, they were like, "What, really?"
Yeah,
Like,
Village is good, but I don't think I would say it's Game of the Year nominee.
yeah.
no, it is a little questionable seeing it there when I think Returnal should be there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I would replace Resident Evil or
If Returnal
It
should just
Takes
compete with it.
Two, but
Oh,
Yeah.
I
yeah.
think
Okay, my bad.
Returnal is just an extremely good game.
Well, I hear It Takes
And
Two uh, gets by a lot on its merits for being very not just co-op centric, but doing a really good job of marrying that co-op gameplay with like a really well done story. Like I hear there's like nothing bad to say about the game
It's,
aside from maybe the fact that it needs another person.
the same people that made A Way Out, which I played that with Ryan, and that was a blast. I had a really fun time playing that game.
yeah, it's on Game Pass as well. So is Psychonauts 2, which was
Yep.
also fucking awesome. I'm only about halfway through Psychonauts 2, but that's also a really good game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the two that really need to take the cake on this one, the two when I say or just say three, the ones that like when you say like what's the competition, I'm like there's of course like 5 people, 6 games or so. But there's only really 3 that are duking it out in my head, and that's It Takes Two, Metroid Dread, and Psychonauts 2. The other ones, eh. But those ones, There's the top, but it's gonna be up there. It's
Yeah,
gonna be those three.
Deathloop is a weird one because when that came out, like everyone was talking about it and it reviewed really well, and then I kind of feel like it just disappeared. Like I feel like nobody was talking about it afterwards.
Well, I mean,
It's a
part of
really
that is
strange game. I have just over 20 hours in that game. And it's really weird how the game plays really well. If you've played Dishonored, it plays really similar to that, except you're shooting things, except
Hmm.
stabbing, but you can also stab things. And the general gameplay is really cool, but it's just when you a majority of the game is you revisiting sections over and over throughout different times of the day, and throughout different times of the day, different events are taking place, in different locations. So you have to go there and complete whatever objectives are available. And it's cool, but it could definitely get kind of repetitive,
get
kind of
grate
quick.
on you after a bit.
Yeah.
I could see
If
that
it
being the
wasn't for
case.
Colt and Juliana, who are both really good, and I think those two characters definitely hold the game together for me. And if it
Hmm.
weren't for them, I probably wouldn't have put as much time into it as I did.
I haven't had a chance myself.
Yeah, I've
But
only
anyway,
of all the games on here, only one I've gotten to play was Village. Um, I like it, but it's not game of the year for me.
yeah, there's always that one game that makes game of the year where you look at it and you're like, I mean, it was good, but
Yeah,
Returnal not being on
that's
here.
a big
Oh,
shocker.
sorry.
Is Returnal not being there?
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about that, and I thought that was gonna be an absolute
Yeah,
shoe-in,
Returnal and
and none.
Forza Horizon 5 was another one people were mentioning, but because, like we were saying earlier,
I
it's a
Yeah,
racing game, it doesn't get the same
it's
recognition as other
is
games.
it even is it even in it? I mean, it's only been out for like a little bit. I don't know how
Um,
it'd already be in the
I don't know if
runnings.
it made the cutoff or not. It might not have.
Mm. Oh yeah, it's here in best sports
Yeah,
racing
but
game.
not game
So
of the year.
oh, no, nobody would put a racing game in game of the year. They don't have a broad enough mind for that. Small brain. Anyway,
Second category is best game direction. Deathloop, It Takes Two, Returnal's on there, Psychonauts 2, and then Ratchet and Clank again.
Returnal. Moving on.
Yeah, I would say Returnal. I didn't play it, but I watched a lot of Returnal footage, and I would
I,
definitely give best direction to that, or It Takes Two.
I mean, yeah, when it comes to direction, for me, it takes two: Returnal and Psychonauts. Again, those feel like the real ones.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, how about you? Are you feeling just Returnal, or do you feel like there's an actual
Yeah,
competition here in this
that's best
section?
game direction.
Yeah,
If it
yeah.
wasn't for Metroid Dread, that's my second favorite game of the year.
We have best ongoing, which is Apex Legends, Call of Duty Warzone, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and then Genshin Impact.
Come
Final
on,
Fantasy
let me tell you
14.
about this Final Fantasy 14.
Oh boy, here we go. Here it
What
is.
a what a easy to play, relaxing, chilling game to play. If you just got 30 minutes to play, it's great. If you got a whole day to play, it's great. It's got a really, really friendly community. It can be a little overwhelming when you jump in, but there's just so much content that you can pay or that you can play without paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's just so good. I don't understand why you wouldn't be playing this
I
game.
do want to go back to it. I haven't played it since I played with you in July, August.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely been a minute. It was
yeah,
definitely in the summer.
I still do want to go back to it after finishing Guardians. I'll probably start going back to either 14 and then like go back and forth between that and God of War. But I do want to play it again because I did have fun, and it's Final Fantasy. I love Final Fantasy.
I have if you start playing or if you really want to, I have the latest version of it on PSN. I don't know if you can actually play that or not, since we're game sharing. Never mind, I take that back.
Anything else, Jeremy? You want to add?
When it comes to these ones for best ongoing, it's a section that doesn't really matter to me,
Mm-hmm.
because best ongoing usually means a game that was manipulating its fan base the hardest, and
Fortnite.
these all look like they're doing that. Um, Look, me too. I was in Fortnite for a bit. There was a time where I was buying the battle passes.
I've
I mean, I'm the guy,
I've still never played
but
Footnut.
it's not. That's the fun part. It's not a bad game.
Mm-hmm.
It's just unfortunately, I'm not gonna get into
It's
that,
the
but it's
meme
like it
game.
gets spicy sometimes. Yeah, it's hard to say I play it and everyone's just like, you, oh, this fucking when you floss it, bro. It's like, no, but no, with Final Fantasy 14 in there, even as somebody who's only touched on that, I can kind of tell, like when it comes to best ongoing, that's an absolute show. And unfortunately, I feel like Call of Duty Warzone or Fortnite's gonna walk away with it, maybe even
Probably.
Apex, but 14 really really deserves the go there. That
I actually don't
because
think so. I think 14 will get the recognition it deserves this year.
Yeah, it had a big turnaround too, and the fact that it surpassed WoW, that's a big achievement.
well, I was also part of that. So when NGS came out, what is it, Fantasy Star Online 2,
Mhm.
PSO2, when NGS came out, I was definitely part of the push for people. Every time somebody's like, I'm just out of content to do an NGS, I'm like, why don't you play Final Fantasy 14? I hear that's pretty good. And there was a lot of people that I never saw again after saying that. So Final Fantasy 14, I expect a check in the mail, for helping you guys out there. I'm obviously a developer now, so I did a lot of work poaching people for you. Except myself. I forgot where I am. And I tried to queue up and they said free players can't join when there's a queue, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm not playing today.
Up next, we have
You
best.
can at level 16. Sorry.
That's all right. Well, what's the level cap? Is it still 60 for free players, or
It
50?
sure is.
Okay. Yeah. So I
That's still
mean,
pretty
like,
high. That's pretty high, yeah.
you can do a lot in the free part of it. Best indie, 12 minutes. Death's Door, Kenna, Bridge of Spirits, Inscription, and Loop Hero. Only ones I'm familiar with are Kenna and 12 minutes.
I'm familiar with all of them.
I have not played none of these.
Yeah.
Inscription was really good. It's kind of a weird. It's a card game, but it has like a foreboding atmosphere. I actually think it was actually better when it had the slight stank of an indier game. I say indier game because back when it was like put together with tape. I remember watching a streamer play it during one of his little like indie like showcases, and it was like super foreboding in the way it worked. So I was glad to see that game get up here. I almost want to let that like have that win just because I got to watch like the genesis of that game. 12 minutes I've seen its subject matter, and I think I don't know, I've got a conflicted opinion about 12 minutes. It looks like it's solid stuff, but it also looks like it kind of goes a little far in some places in terms of subject matter.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm not too familiar with some of these other ones like Kenna or Death's Door or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, Kenna's that PS5 title, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That was actually part of their it was actually part of their like not launch lineup, but their PS5 showcase, like when they were showing.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that might be decent.
The next category is pretty similar. It's best debut indie. Kenna,
Okay.
Sable, The Artful Escape, The Forgotten City, and then Valheim.
Valheim. Why is the Forgotten City even on here?
I didn't make the nominees.
I'm sorry. I'm a rude nerd. Okay, so Forgotten City started out as a mod for Skyrim and used Skyrim's lore, which was significantly good. It was a very fantastic mod. Won awards, did well deserved. Forgotten City, the standalone, is like it's weird mannequin sibling. It's not as good as the mod, and it's actually like kind of bad. So I find it interesting that it's even on the list. But yeah, those are the only two I'm familiar with: Forgotten City and Valheim. How about you guys?
Yeah, just Valheim for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
that was a solid game. Valheim is still a game I suggest to people. The art style alone, that mix of like PS2 stank mixed in with or PS1 stank I should say, mixed in with like the modern take on post-processing effects, like things like bloom and hold on, do I even know what I'm talking about? Bloom, volumetric clouds, volumetric rays, all kinds of fun stuff. Fantastic fog effects, fantastic weather effects. It's a solid game. I usually don't like those survival-y type games, but that game alone, just its atmosphere from the way it looks and the way it plays, is enough for me. I feel like that'd be a good one if I had to pick one.
Up next is Best Narrative. Deathloop, It Takes Two, Life is Strange, True Colors, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and Psychonauts 2. I know what my answer is. What about you guys?
Despite Life is Strange being as good as it is, I still think the writing in Guardians might be a little better.
Same.
Yeah.
That's my choice.
And we're going to take 2 seconds. I don't know about you guys, but take 2 more seconds to just fawn over this game.
Great game.
I honestly was not, like, even I was expecting it to be decent. Like, I thought it was good. All right, when Ryan, when you put that tweet up saying it has no right being this good, I was like, I told people it was going to be good. I still wasn't prepared to boot it up. And then within 5 seconds, Guardians of the Galaxy and the MCU, gone. Completely left my mind. I wasn't even worried about it. I had a rundown of that on on my stream at the time when I talked about it, but each of the characters are like different enough. Some characters are just perfect. But like the writing of the characters and even the writing of the story, at no point has the story felt like cobbled together MacGuffin chasing, if that makes any sense. Like I always feel like there's a purpose. Everything's slotting into place. It's just it's good. It's really good. The writing is way better than it deserves to be. And it's the
Yeah.
same feeling I got when I was playing Spider-Man on PS4. It's just like, wow, I knew this was going to be good, but like, wow, this is really good.
Yeah, the characters in this game are my preferred. I definitely think they're better than the MCU iterations. I'm not familiar with the Guardians comics, but from what I've read, a lot of people say that these versions are much closer to the comic books.
Yeah.
And to be fair, you can't really fault people for not being high on this game because there was that Avengers stank still in the air. And even though it was a different
Yeah.
studio, a lot of the marketing and stuff they showed off for this game didn't look great. So I think a lot of people's expectations were just super low, but it really is a fantastic game. And it
Yeah.
looks great. Like the facial tech on the faces is really, really well done. And it definitely seems like they put a lot of money into it. So
Ryan, you were there for the stream, and you were telling me the one thing that caught you was just the depth that this game was able to convey that the movies didn't even bother trying to do, and that included the actors.
mhm.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with it.
And then we get
Overall, again, I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it is, but just the banter between the characters is it builds a lot of character and it makes those sections when you're just walking from, one section to the next section. They kind of did what, Uncharted started to do, but
mm,
it kind of in my opinion, it started to get stale in Uncharted when 3 and 4 came around, but in this game, I think each conversation teaches you something new about the characters, so it never gets tiring hearing
Mhm.
what they have to say.
yeah. I still like that they don't cash in. Like that's the problem. And the writing is definitely meant to part of this is that uh, nothing to say bad about the MCU ones. I've liked them, and that's what we thank them for even getting us this game. Because if that hadn't been as popular and as good as it was, we would have never gotten here. However, they've kind of banked on certain things being a joke, like I am Groot being a joke,
Mhm.
and Drax taking things literally being a joke. Instead of those being the joke, quote unquote, it's like their character. Like there's actually a whole discussion on how they wish like Peter goes out of his way really hard when you find a translator to try and find a way to translate what Groot's saying. He actually goes on a full tirade saying like it'd be great to like sit down, buddy, and like actually have a conversation with you and like I could know what you're saying instead of trying to like convey it through I am and Groot in different tonals. And with Drax, he does take things very deadpan, very literally, and doesn't quite understand a lot of it. But it's never 100% of the joke. It's just part of who he is.
Yeah, he's smart. Like in the game, he's
Yeah,
he's intelligent. He's well spoken. He's very literal. And in the movies, he's like big old dum dum. You know.
yeah. One, he wasn't so bad, but two, definitely cashed in on that.
Mm-hmm.
I still think just real quick, my favorite little piece of banter is very simple. There's a moment where you're looking through everyone's rap sheets, and you scroll down and you get to Peter's, and he goes, "Wow, that's much bigger than I expected it to be." And then just with perfect delivery, Drax in the background says, "That is what your mother said," and it was just the whole fucking rundown was hilarious. And then
Doesn't
Rocket,
Yeah, I was gonna
being a
say
piece of
Rocket
crap,
follows up.
he's yeah, he says it's even funnier because his mom's dead,
Yeah,
and I was like,
yeah. Rocket's an
"Whoa!"
asshole in this game. Holy crap.
Yeah, that's the best thing. Rocket's an asshole, Gamora's a bitch, and Peter is an idiot. But like they're
There's
good. The
depth.
good in them comes through. Yeah,
There's so
there's a
much.
lot more to them.
There's so much more depth to the characters in the game. And granted, it's a
That and I
game,
just
so you have way more time to spend with them. But still, there's
I
so many layers.
yeah, I still think Bradley Cooper as Rocket in the MCU is still the most inspired decision I've ever heard. I never thought that was gonna work out, and he definitely laid the groundwork for this Rocket. But this Rocket goes way harder,
Yeah.
so hard. But anyway, moving on. We're done fawning over it. We all know what we think our best narrative is.
Yeah. We have best art direction, Deathloop, Kenna, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank, and The Artful Escape.
I do really
Uh,
like the Deathloop and the Deathloop aesthetic and the way it looks. Again, it's got that this let me start over. It's got that dishonored art style where
Mm,
it's like it's colorful, but it's still kind of like hard and like gritty at the same time.
Hmm.
So even though I didn't love the game, I love the way it looks. I'll give it that.
Yeah, it's I don't know about you, Corduroy, but when it comes to these ones, I'm definitely gonna have to do that too. It's between Psychonauts 2 though. I do kind of like that seeing that art come back. I didn't even play it, but it was immediately recognizable, and that kind of tells you when a style is good. But Deathloop does, coming from the same guys who did again, like he said, coming from the same guys who did Dishonored. It's like realism, but they've got a flavor applied to everything. Like it's seasoned realism. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'd probably go with either Psychonauts 2 or Ratchet and Clank. Ratchet and Clank is just a really pretty game. It's literally like a Pixar movie or like an animated Disney film that you get to play. And I really
I
like the
wouldn't
art
know.
style.
I have no idea. That's a game that's beyond me today.
Um, Next, we have Best Score in Music. Cyberpunk 2077, which I forgot existed. Deathloop, Near Replicant version 1. I'm not reading all those numbers. Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy and the Artful Escape. Yeah, I mean, Guardians is kind of
And
cheating.
Guardian is just licensed. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
licensed
Yeah,
music.
the
That's BS.
the original. Well, there's original tracks in it. I mean, if you turn the streamer mode on and you
Yeah.
turn those
The
off,
actual
I
score is
tasted it
good.
for a sec. Yeah, but it's still when you have it on best score in music, even I'm kind of like, nah, it's good. It does what it needs to, but I never once did I hear an original score come from it where I was like, whoa, this is a fantastic track. And it was like, I got Rick rolled just now.
Yeah, the original music that plays like during battle, it's very much like orchestral MCU inspired.
Yeah, it's good, but
But
like, yeah,
I don't really have
I actually
a pick here.
I actually think Cyberpunk 2077, dead serious, even without the licensed tracks, that's the one thing from Cyberpunk that I pulled away. I still have that on my list of songs that I go and like tap into to listen to. Cyberpunk soundtrack is a bop. It hits hard. And if the game was hitting as hard as it would, I bet it accompanied really nice.
All right,
And I
we
would
How
like
about
to
you?
say I'm a
yeah.
little shocked that that Metroid isn't on here because not only does it have a lot of the original music, but it's got like a lot of original like remix versions of them,
Mm-hmm.
and
And
it sounds ridiculously cool, and all the bosses have their own theme, so it's strange to not see it there because that
yeah,
music is really good.
I'm actually now that you brought it up, I am surprised myself too. Why isn't that on here?
I know
But
what
but
my answer
but
is.
near is. What?
It's not even nominated because it technically didn't come out this year. Technically, it's Intermission, Final Fantasy VII, the Yuffie DLC. It's got an
Okay. So best
incredible
audio
soundtrack.
design. Best audio design. Who got up? No, I'm just teasing.
Why is that not here?
Yeah, I mean the sound.
Why are things missing? What's going on here?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean the
Who rigged this?
soundtrack for the main game is great, but the soundtrack for the DLC, like they really put a lot of effort into that and having different remixed versions of Yuffie's theme and what's the name of the Turtle Paradise has got like a metal theme, it's got like a hip hop theme, and there's like a
Actually,
country theme. There's all these different
look,
iterations
I'll
of
give you. They should have taken Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy off this list
yeah,
and put
it's
instead Intermission or even any of the ones we brought up. I'm
yeah,
sorry, but I've liked Guardians of the Galaxy, but even I'd like
it's
no,
cheap.
this
It's
isn't the
kind
best
of
part.
it's cheating. So
Yeah,
yeah, that would have been my pick, but it's not there. Next, we have
it's the pick in your heart.
yeah, best audio design: Deathloop, Forza Horizon 5, Ratchet and Clank, Resident Evil Village, and Returnal. I believe Returnal has 3D audio. If you use I mean, I think it works with any headset, but if you use the PlayStation 5 Pulse headset, I think you get 3D audio support.
Yes, or even if you use like a 5.1 headset, you can still use the 3D audio.
Hmm. So my pick would be between Returnal and Village. Playing Village with a headset on, it's creepy.
Yeah, and despite having played Returnal with like the best audio options, I still think Resident Evil is better. Sets the atmosphere just right, does
Yeah,
everything right in my opinion.
there's that
And
moment in I think it's in the main game, but it might have just been in the demo where you're in the castle and you're in the like main entrance area and you're walking down the steps and you hear Lady D from one of the directions say that she can see you, And I remember I had my headphones on at that point. It legitimately scared the crap out of me because of just how close she sounded to me.
I think I think that's the fun part too is when it comes to this particular section, unfortunately, it's kind of biased because Forza Horizon 5 absolutely has a brilliant sound design. But unless you're like a car aficionado and sure enjoy the sounds of engine sounds and braking sounds coming from their respective places, it ain't really gonna hit as hard. Even if you are a big audio nerd, it's not gonna hit as hard as Resident Evil Village or Returnal did. Just in general, just because their gameplay and like whole atmosphere are based on that audio design.
Yeah, they really go hand in hand. So Village is definitely my pick.
I'd say either of those.
Yeah, I like Village as well for this one.
Best performance: Erica Mori as Alex Chen from Life is Strange: True Colors, Giancarlo Esposito as Anton Castillo from Far Cry 6, Jason E. Kelly as Colt Vaughn from Deathloop, Maggie Robertson as Lady it's technically Dimitrescu, I think is how it's supposed to be pronounced, but the game says Dimitrescu from Village, and then Ozioma Akagao, I butchered that name, as Juliana Blake from Deathloop.
I think it's just Ozioma Kaga.
Okay, thank you, because I ruined that. For me, it's Maggie Robertson.
It's
For me as well.
Yeah,
but I think Colt from Deathloop is second.
Yeah.
Lady D is both frightening, and yet I want her to choke me. So Maggie Robertson did an incredible job with that character, especially I know this is best performance, so we're taking into account like the facial capture and the fact that she did the motion capture as well. I think she had the standout performance in that game.
Can we talk story details, or are we passing on all that?
It's been out for a while.
I haven't played it at all yet.
No. We'll skip it
because I have to pay money for it, and see, that's the thing. It's pretty tough right now. No, I just haven't gotten around to it. I played 7 as a suggestion, and I was like, cool, we'll have to get a hold of 8 and try that. I've actually been keeping an eye on it. You mentioned that it was on sale.
Yeah,
you mentioned that it was on sale. Yeah. I definitely need to grab it. Yeah,
anytime she's on screen, it's like you can't really look away. She's great.
I do have some spoilers myself already. Like somebody told me of one mission that I probably was gonna have a problem with, and I played it. I played the video of it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yep, that's gonna be rough when I get there. Cool. That's like a personal problem for me. Awesome. Just real quick, I'd say probably. I'm surprised you didn't say Colt Vaughn. I mean, I know. She's pretty good, but I was surprised they weren't running for each other. She just stole the show 100% for you, more than Colt Vaughn did. Ryan?
Yeah, again, like I said, for both of them, I said Colt and Juliana are what hold that game together for me, but also Lady Dimitrescu, she's definitely kind of the star of the show, and she became the marketing of that game pretty much. And yeah, she was good, man. Really good character. So I still like her over everyone else. You know I'm a fan of Far Cry, and I play all these games. Giancarlo was kind of bullshit because you don't even really see him in game. All the interactions with him are like pre-rendered cutscenes, and I don't. That's BS, man. Because the other bad guys you would see in game, and you would fight them in game, but not this character.
Yeah, it's definitely feels like one of those like, hey, we got him in here, and it's like neat.
We have best community support: Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky. For me, it's between 14
No Man's Sky
and Fortnite. I know No Man's Sky had a pretty big turnaround as well, but if you look at everything 14 is still doing, I know that game is technically coming to an end story-wise, but I'd give it to 14.
I feel like I'd give it to No Man's Sky just because they've been providing that so thoroughly since their launch like a million years ago. And to this very day, not a single piece of monetized content is in that game. Everything has been free in all capacities, from stem to stern. We're talking full overhauls. They've gutted entire systems, gutted entire sections of the game, and then we were like, how much did it cost?
To that game for free.
Yeah, that's some. I still haven't tried that out. I've still been meaning to do so. They've added so much to that game, and all they've asked in return is that you just keep playing the game and keep enjoying it. So I I want to say that they kind of deserve that kind of turnaround, but that would be the tie-in: Final Fantasy 14 and No Man's Sky. I don't even know why Destiny 2's on here, honestly. They're cutting the $25 DLC that I've got when the next DLC drops. They're removing that DLC from the game, and I'm like, that doesn't feel like good community support to me. That actually sounds cheap and sleazy.
What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I really appreciate what both Hello Games and Square are doing with their games.
Mhm.
It's really hard to pick between them, but they both basically started at nothing and have come so far. They're both the same kind of, story.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. No Man's Sky, I guess, because they continue to support that game for free. The only difference I can think of is, at least with Final Fantasy 14, you have to buy the expansions, and No Man's Sky, the expansions are free. So for
Yeah.
that, I'll give it to No Man's Sky.
Well, the teams are also very much smaller too. I think Hello Games, I think their whole studio is still pretty much focused on No Man's Sky. Like, I believe there's probably some piece of paper with another title written somewhere, but for the most part, they've got like, I think what, 40, 50 people maybe, just working on that alone.
Best VR AR: Hitman 3, I Expect You to Die 2, Lone Echo 2, Resident Evil 4, and Sniper Elite VR.
Is it bad that for having a VR headset, I've played none of these?
I
There's 26 people at Hello Games, by the way.
Yeah, from what I've seen, RE4. Although from what I've heard, if
Oh
you
yeah,
don't have your VR legs, that game is going to be rough to play.
yeah. We have a mutual buddy, Kimmy, with what is it, Matthew? He picked up Resident Evil 4, and he's a huge Resident Evil fan. He said it's fantastic. And his one complaint, the lack of a mercenary mode,
Mm,
actually just got announced that it's getting a free update that includes mercenary mode.
cool.
So Resident Evil 4 on the Quest 2, specifically, nothing else. That's the one downside. That's the one caveat. If you don't have a Quest 2, you don't get to play. I think that'd be the shoe-in. Lone Echo 2 is a pretty big one, from Ready at Dawn. But
So can y'all school me? Is the Quest? Sorry that this is off topic,
no,
but
it's
on
okay.
topic. Is the Quest 2 the best? Like, is that the best one there is to get right now?
Um,
Like to play Resident Evil 4 if you want to do that?
if you wanted
It's
to play Resident Evil 4, that's
exclusive.
the only one you can
Yeah, it's
buy.
exclusive to
Yeah.
the Quest.
Yep, it's on their storefront. You can't get a hold of it anywhere else. You can't even PC VR it. It has
Hmm.
to be on the Quest.
Yep.
Which is cool. It's a miracle of porting. It looks fantastic. I mean, it still looks like Resident Evil. But it looks and plays. They said it's probably one of the best native Quest games to have come out. And they've definitely put a ton of effort into making sure it plays and looks nice on that. But when it comes to VR headsets, it really comes down to what you're looking for. We could have a whole aside for that. So if you want to hit me with that question like another time or slap it on the end here, I can. But my experience with the three sensor setup versus people with the Quest, there's a lot of caveats. There's a give and take that each side gives you. So some have like more that they can offer because of the type of tracking they have. I'd say if you want to play Resident Evil 4 though, that is like Matt especially said it, that's absolutely a console seller for him. And it opens up the ability for PC VR with the Oculus Link. And then there's a lot of native support for a lot of games too. Like for example, the classics like VR Chat are supported natively out of the box. The minute you boot it up, you can install it and play. But there's a lot of side quest content, and it has full support for PC VR. So the only thing that's stopping you is plugging it in. That and the $300 price point.
Next, we have Best Action Adventure: Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Metroid Dread, Psychonauts 2, Ratchet and Clank, and Resident Evil Village.
Resident Evil Village is an action adventure.
Yeah, kind of.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
Is
adventuring.
it? I felt it was more. I just felt it would be in like its own thing for like horror and the like. Do we not do horror anymore? Does horror to not have its own thing? Mostly because
Mm-mm.
they all suck.
Yeah,
That's too bad.
it's action adventure for sure.
All right, fair enough. I still think it's probably duking it out between the top three: Guardians of the Galaxy, Dread, and Psychonauts 2. They're just on a different level.
I'd probably go Guardians or RE.
That's because you haven't
Yeah,
played Dread.
Dread for me.
Yeah, I don't have a Switch. I gotta get a Switch.
Dang. They're
This
like
is the
dirt
first
cheap.
time I've ever said this, but I don't think I like Smash Ultimate a lot, but I've never told anyone that they should go out and buy a Switch to play fucking Smash Ultimate because you can play it
No.
with anybody else that has a Switch.
Yep.
But Dread, bruh,
That's a console
them
seller.
graphics is really good already. So I would imagine playing that bitch on the OLED screen is
Yeah,
probably ridiculous.
I'd like to get
Yeah.
an OLED.
Yeah. I still suggest that the OLED's great for people who don't have a Switch. For the rest of us, weigh your apples. But yeah, you gotta
Definitely.
gotta get on board, my dude.
Best role playing game: Cyberpunk 2077,
Here
On
we
Monster
go.
PC.
Monster Hunter Rise, Scarlet Nexus, Shin Megami Tensei 5, and Tales of Arise. I've heard that Cyberpunk isn't really a role playing game.
Uh, I believe those are when it comes to roles in the dialogue. Yes, no, it's not a great role playing game. There's 3 roles, and then you get like a handful of permutations. But when it comes to rocking out your skill tree, I'd say it's that's not entirely true. It's pretty deep. It's just the problem is that you'll find out that you really didn't need to invest in some of these. They're worthless. so
I mean, the console
so
side for this game, it kind of seems the same way.
oh, the console side, homie, it's barely a game
Yeah.
on the base console side.
I have no
On
choice,
X,
by the way, here.
Did either of you beat that game or play it?
Nope.
I played through a good portion until the frame rate got so bad I couldn't, and I've just been holding out for the Series X update, which is now delayed until next year.
I had zero interest in Cyberpunk, so I wasn't going to play it.
I do
anyway.
want to play it.
Well, I can 100% say playing to the end of that game, your choices barely mean jack shit throughout the game.
Oh, damn.
If
Yeah.
the choices that you do make that mean something, the consequences are what happens a scene after or 2 scenes after, like the
Yeah.
immediate consequences. But none of the choices you make, other than the opening 30-minute sequence, will have any outstanding consequences, near the end of the game,
Yeah.
like Witcher does. It's really disappointing, man, for real.
That's the vibe I got. Is like from a narrative standpoint, not so much, but from like it has the role playing like gameplay in the background, but it's not role playing. Like you can't be a belligerent dickbag to everybody, and then at the end you get the bad ending because guess what? You were cocked, everyone, and that's how it gets to be. It's like you still get walked into the same endings no matter how you treated it, and the same consequences roughly. Just depends on who's telling you the consequences are coming. Otherwise, the other games, I mean, Monster Hunter Rise, I've heard nothing but good things about. I'd probably say that would be my pick just because that and Cyberpunk, just due to my rudimentary knowledge of the two. I know Shin Megami Tensei 5 is on here. That is still really new. I haven't had a chance to even look at it.
So that definitely answers our question of whether Forza made the deadline because of Shin Megami Tensei did, then Forza definitely did for
Yeah.
Game of the Year.
Tales of
Yeah.
Arise looks interesting. I wouldn't mind
I've
trying that
seen
out.
it. I've seen it with my eyes. Yep.
Best fighting game: Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, The Hinokami Chronicles, Guilty Gear Strive, Melty Blood Type Lumina, Nickelodeon All Star Brawl, and Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown.
I like how Demon Slayer literally came out less than 2 weeks ago.
It's already on here.
It is. Like, what the hell, man?
Then it must be great, right? Obviously.
I would say Guilty Gear or Virtua Fighter 5 because those are the only 2 I've actually played.
Nah, Guilty Gear, that Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, man. That's what it's going to be between those two. The two giants, they're going to come up and they're going to fight. No, I'm just kidding. It's probably Guilty Gear.
I'm gonna give it to Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl.
I wouldn't be
I think
shocked
that's
if
the
that
best
won.
game on its entire list. It should be Game of the Year. But if it wasn't
Yeah.
that, then I guess Guilty Gear Strive would be my second choice.
I think I was glad to see Guilty Gear come back. Like, that's part of half of it. I was just like, that's fine. I don't even care about the rest. Like, it could have been bad, and I still would have been like, well, no, okay, maybe I would have been a little peeved. But
if there was a
to see,
best graphics category, that would be my choice.
It's a good looking game.
That's right up there next to the Dragon Ball Fighter Z in terms of like having such unique art style. Thus pulling off that 2D type art, but in 3D. It's fantastic stuff. But anyway,
Speaking
sorry.
of which, it's kind of disappointing that there is no best graphics category, considering we just got into this new, these new
console generation.
consoles.
Yeah.
Well, that's because it would have gone straight to Forza Horizon 5. I'm sorry. Have you seen a Lambo look that good? I mean, come on. I wish I was kidding. From what I've seen, they look amazing. Anyway, sorry.
Best family game: It Takes Two, Mario Party Superstars. Mario Party is not a family game. That is a game you play to break up friendships. New Pokemon Snap, Super Mario 3D World, and Bowser's Fury, and WarioWare Get It Together.
I've only played Mario and Bowser's Fury, which was amazing, so I'm gonna give it to that. Both awesome games. Well, Bowser's Fury is pretty short. It's only like 2 hours, but awesome.
I think any of these are pretty big shoe-in. I mean, half of it, over half is Nintendo titles, but aside from that, these all look like big contenders for that. With It Takes Two, That is straight up family oriented. That's all about a family. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Is like, so if there's ever anything that's going to build bonds, it's going to be a co-op game that requires you to address family things.
Yeah.
So that one like is a very serious family game. Uh, that's lighthearted enough for kids. The rest though qualifies family games in the fact that my 5-year-old can play. And look, they're all solid titles. Look, all right, I got no hard feelings against any of these. There's
Yeah.
nothing I look at on here and say, nah, this shouldn't be here.
Also, Mario Party
Except Mario
Superstars,
Party.
like graphically, looks really, really good, and it's
Yeah, it looks
weird.
way too good for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you guys could do this all along on the Switch. Why are you not doing this?
Because Mario Party's small enough for it to look that good.
Yeah.
Reminds me of Luigi's Mansion, which straight up looks like an animated film. Like when I see that game play,
Mhm.
it reminds me very much of a Pixar title. So like the effort that like that's the fun part is I guess it
First
comes to
party
the developer.
titles, man. Nintendo know what
Yeah.
they're doing with their own hardware.
Well,
Here we go.
so
Best sports / racing. F1.
Forza Horizon 5. Moving on.
Pretty much, yeah. I don't think we need to talk about the others. Well, Riders Republic looks pretty cool. I've watched a little bit of footage of that.
It was okay.
Um,
It's
Yeah,
by
like
Ubisoft,
that.
so I have. It looks good, but I feel like it's gonna have the Ubisoftisms. But anyway, you guys go for it. You guys know more than me.
Well, again, I planned on I was either buying that or Ratchet and Clank, so
Sleep is
there's
your
still a
answer.
chance I'm gonna end up with Riders Republic, 'cause I think I'll have a lot of fun with it.
It
And
looks
it's
fun.
also on sale, so I might give it a try. Who knows?
Best sim / strategy. Age of Empires 5 or 6, 5, 4. The Roman numerals subtract if it's on the left. 4. Evil Genius 2, World Domination, Humankind, Inscription, and Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm going to assume that Flight Simulator is going to win because that game blew up over the year.
I think that and Age of Empires are probably the biggest contenders. These other ones are decent, but I feel like are too not like these end up turning into elaborate popularity contests. So Age of Empires is the return of a classic where Microsoft Flight Simulator was just zooming on hype. I don't know how it is, but that game, man, everybody knows that game. Everybody's played that game. It's wild. Anything for this
Yeah,
one?
the only one I played is Microsoft Flight Sim, but I've only put a little time into it.
That's
Seems
about
pretty
it.
fun.
Mhm.
These all seem like they definitely have their crowds, but just not for me. I haven't really played them other than Microsoft Flight Sim.
Our second to last category is Best Multiplayer. We have Back for Blood, It Takes Two, Knockout City, Monster Hunter Rise, New World, and Valheim. I played a shit ton of Knockout City. That game is really fun. It's free on PS5 now, so I'm definitely going to go back to it because my main character was on that console. So that would be my choice.
Played a bit. I was okay. I wasn't too hype on it. Back for Blood though, I may not be playing it recently just because it turns out I did kind of like want a little bit more Left 4 Dead with my Left 4 Dead, so maybe that's on me. But what I did play, when it does play nicely, Back 4 Blood is a fantastic multiplayer game. I mean, Valheim's good for the survival aspect, but multiplayer is like part of the deal, if that makes sense. It really doesn't strike me as like the main course, so to speak.
What about
So
you,
it'd probably
Ray?
be Back 4 Blood for me.
Monster Hunter Rise.
I mean, I watched a lot of that too, and I mean, it's Monster Hunter. I never got into Monster Hunter because it was too confusing for me, and I'm too stupid. But that's a good choice.
Unwarranted self-loathing.
It's warranted.
Out of nowhere. You said it's complicated. I'm like, I understand. And you said, and I'm too stupid. I'm like, that one I don't understand as much.
And then our final category is Most Anticipated, presented by Prime Gaming. Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Starfield, Innovation and Inaccess. Oh, I combined two categories because I didn't
see that
space
now.
them.
Yes.
Innovation and accessibility is my pick for most anticipated game.
Yep, from Chevrolet.
For me, I'd probably say God of War. I just started the God of War 2018, and it's a lot of fun, and the trailer for Ragnarok looks dope. So I'd probably say that one.
I'm not sure. Sequel to Legend of Zelda. These are all things that are pretty. I've got pretty high up there. I mean, Starfield's pretty up there. Obviously, I've always wanted to know what the hell that was going to be. Elden Ring. I wish I was kidding. I saw Elden Ring, and there's a tiny part of me that's just kind of like, okay, well, I'll just see that when it comes out. I'm not like losing hype for that one. God of War Ragnarok, I'd imagine playing God of War 4 would probably be required to get hype about that. Looks good. Um, Horizon Forbidden West. That one I'm actually hyped to see. I don't know if I'll get to play it, but I am hyped to see it do well
Yeah.
and be good.
Graphically, it looks
But yeah, these are all
crazy.
pretty good. Oh yeah, that'll be a cross-gen one too, so I might be able to actually get to play that one.
What about you, Ryan?
Elden Ring for me, definitely.
Yeah, and that's very soon. Technically, our last category then is innovation and accessibility, presented by Chevrolet. Far Cry 6, Forza Horizon 5, Guardians of the Galaxy, Ratchet and Clank, and the Valve's Shadow of the Crown. The only one I played was Guardians of the Galaxy, and there is a ton of accessibility options in that game, including how much damage you take, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, you can give custom difficulty.
Yeah, so Guardians would be my pick.
Brian, you dipped
Forza
into...
for me.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I was about to say, you dipped into Forza Horizon 5s. I hear theirs is pretty deep as well.
Yeah, with that, I mean, you can customize the way the whole user interface. You can change that. You can change the way it sounds, and difficulties. There's a ton of sliders, so you can make it to where it's just fun to play. You don't got to worry about it too much. Lots of different options in Forza.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing, and that's why I've been so impressed. I mean, that kind of the smallest side, but it relates. But I've been impressed with what Microsoft's been pushing with that. I mean, Halo Infinite also had quite a bit of accessibility options when it came to handling color blindness and stuff like that. And Forza Horizon 5 was the other one that I heard that had tons of options for color blindness, for accessibility. There's ways to change the control schemes. I believe you can remap a lot of the controller in the event that you may find yourself at a disadvantage, either from missing appendages or otherwise, or maybe just disabilities that leave you unable to use them. And then Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, with their difficulty changes, I was blown away when I got in there, and they had easy, medium, hard, like extreme or something like that, and then custom. I was like, wait, custom? Went down there, and yeah, everything could be changed.
For me, there's kind of I think I'll need to in the future kind of better try to separate the difference between accessibility for difficulty and accessibility for disabled or handicapped, because it sounds like these are definitely all blending together.
I feel like it all fits though, because sometimes your disability, because I have a buddy of mine whose hands, he can play, because we hop on VR chat for a bit. His response time is a little on the slow side, very slow side. It's not like a muscular dystrophy, but the joints in his hands, it's like it takes him a bit to react, which is why he likes having the VR headset on his head, because then he can just turn and look at us instead of having to rely on his fingers to do the turning for him. But
Yeah,
that
that
he
makes
says
sense.
for him, the difficulty, the ability to change the difficulty to compensate for that slowed reaction time, is that because it's not a disability in the same sense, missing limbs or maybe the limbs don't work the way they do, or cognitive functions causing issues, or color blindness, or just blindness. His isn't like a classic disability. His is just quite literally, it just takes him a sec to get where he's going. His fingers and stuff don't respond the way they used to. And he said just having the ability to bring down the amount of damage you take to compensate for the fact that I'm not getting into cover immediately, or I can't get to my powers super fast. And then that's part of it too, is he was able to change the controls, because a lot of these, especially Guardians, I don't know if you've noticed, it's a lot of button holding and then other button pressing while holding said button.
Yo,
Which,
mapping it to the left stick, clicking in the left stick was a mistake. I don't know who
yes,
decided to do
for
that, but that's
your own
bad.
abilities, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
terrible.
And if there was one bad thing, it was just the fact that this game definitely probably would flex way harder on a PC than it does on consoles. Having a stick be our abilities is insane.
Yeah, there were times
Aside
where,
from,
there was times where
yeah,
I would run around and I'd accidentally click it in and I'd get stuck in the slow-mo and I'd have to back out, but the button didn't want to work, so I'd be stuck there for a couple seconds.
I just forget. I never remember that the clicking in the stick might be a menu option, so I just straight up forget that Peter's got abilities. But aside from that controller complaint, theirs does lean a little bit more into changing the intuitiveness of the enemies and stuff like that, toning down that type of difficulty. Because sometimes that's all you need. Sometimes all you need is just, I just need it so that enemies don't kill me so fast. I can't react fast enough to get to them. And sometimes the disability is straight up, I ain't gonna lie, there's some people that are just in their twilight years and their knuckles don't work as well as they used to. And so being able to adjust the difficulty for that, that still very much falls within the line of that. Part of that comes down to games too. We have a bad habit of saying of like separating them ourselves too much, and sometimes all you need to do is be able to put it on easy, and that's everything you need to be able to play it. That's why I'm so conflicted when people said Sekiro needs difficulty sliders. Like, part of me wants to go, this is how the game's meant to be played, but then the other part realizes there's people that just straight up, no matter how hard they try, literally will not be able to play on the same level as me, and they'll just never get to finish the game because of that. So I've started to get a little bit more conscientious of that ever since I started that fight one time and got slapped with that shit in my face. I immediately rethunk everything I was saying. Ugh.
I definitely like the idea of most games having difficulty options and things
Yes.
like that. But in regards to games, the Souls games and Sekiro,
Yeah.
when the difficulty is tied, literally directly to the story and how it's supposed to be experienced, I definitely think adding a difficulty will just kind of ruin the whole point of the game. I don't know.
I feel like I feel like maybe you could adjust some margins. We could be here all day with that, but like adjust margins for how quick the stagger kicks in, like how quick your stagger bar kicks in versus how quick theirs do. Like just slight adjustments, not anything to make it so that like you could shut off you staggering, but like it takes a teeny bit longer for you to get staggered before they get staggered. You know what I mean? Just that's the thing. We could talk about it all day, but I get what you're saying because I still believe with the Souls games and Sekiro by extension, and then eventually Elden Ring once that comes out. Um, for the way those games are made, difficulty is the game, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But I also don't know what it's like to sit on the receiving end, be told that you just don't get to enjoy this game. So maybe I don't know, maybe that's a perspective that I just don't have. You know, not even maybe, that genuinely is a perspective I don't have.
Yeah, but
So
that concludes the list as well as the
yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, we got a little off topic there. That some of these broached a lot of conversations that probably definitely need to get dove into at some point. I feel like we all definitely have an opinion when it comes to some of these conversations. But quick fire game of the year stuff was yeah, that the Game Awards are going to be spicy. Still don't understand why Returnal got totally scrubbed though. What is that all about?
None, these award shows never really make sense for the most part when you think about it.
And now it's going to hurt
Yeah.
worse because I'm never going to hear Jeff Keighley tell me about them anymore.
And the fact that people are complaining is kind of enough for me because that just shows that, yeah, people are aware that the game is good and it deserves to be played, and that's that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you could almost look at it like it's too good to be
I
nominated. Like it doesn't.
Yeah,
need it.
I haven't seen a snub this bad since I heard that The Weeknd literally got nominated for all 0 Grammys, and I'm
Yeah.
like, wait, what?
Yeah,
That dude, yeah, same thing. Literally brought out nothing but a banger, nothing but good things to say, never a complaint. I have none, and didn't even make the short list. You know what I mean? And so, like, to see
I'm pretty
Returnal
sure
pop up in
Blinding
1 or 2
Lights was
places,
the most played song that year.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. You don't have a track like that and then don't even make top single. You know what I mean? It didn't even make best music video. Didn't make anything. But that's the awards, man. You got to take them with a grain of salt. You look at them and you say to yourself, I wish them all the best of luck. And then you also look at the few that missed out and you're like, I don't know why, but you absolutely got snubbed. Returnal is that. I haven't even played it and I know that game got snubbed. I've
I
never heard a
remember that
complaint.
while the Returnal devs were sitting at home looking at these nominations, they've come to the conclusion that you can release a game that's years from being finished, aka Cyberpunk, and still be nominated for RPG of the Year. The
Yeah,
game's still not done, still hasn't gotten its next gen updates, no content updates, but it's all good, man.
it's fine. Don't worry. Just try really hard, and in the end, you'll be left up to a small committee of people that will make the decision for you on whether or not you were good. I kind of hope that they walk away with the same idea that I do, is that like getting into the award show doesn't mean you've succeeded. Okay, the amount of people coming out in support of them should be enough to tell you that's better than any award show. People popping in and playing the game, stem to stern. That's the real gauge for success.
Mm-hmm. But that was the podcast. I'll go ahead and leave your guys' socials in the description if you want. So if you guys want to made it to the end of the podcast and you guys want to follow them, just look in the description. The social links will be there, as well as the sources to all of our stories if you want something a little more in depth, or if we missed something that was in the story and you want to read about it. That'll all be in the description if you guys want to say goodbye. We'll do an outro.
All right, are we doing the outro separate, or are you just walking me?
No, I'm just saying, like, you guys can say goodbye.
Oh, my bad. You said we'll do an outro. I'm like, wait, is that the cue? Did I miss it?
No,
Hold on.
I'll put music in post to do the outro, but if you guys want to say goodbye and like your socials, that's cool.
All right. Well, fair enough. It's been us. It's always been a joy being on here, even though none of my notes made the cut this time. I covered something we opted not to because of the big breaking stuff in the Game Awards. So, but yeah, Drunklock Holmes. I stream occasionally. I'm occasionally a good guy. So anyway, take it easy. Glad to have you guys here. Hope you guys made it this far.
Yeah, and I was really glad to be here. I appreciate you guys having me. Find me on Fightcade any day, anytime. Impulse Paradox. I'm playing Street Fighter Alpha 3, CVS 2. I'll play all day, any day.
Yeah. If you're trying to see hands, he's got the hand you're looking for.
I'm curious, Corduroy, if there's like 4 people out there that still play Dissidia NT, I will gladly play with you. But as of now, it's just me. I'm the only person playing this game.
I'll be your Cloud, okay? You just be literally here.
I made so many people's, dude. I got every category down. I got Vanguard, I got Assassin, I got Shoot, I got Specialist. I got 1 character, possibly 2 for every category, so I am covered.
When you go to play, you can easily find a game, though, right? There's people playing.
Surprisingly, like if I boot that game up in the morning, I find people playing. It's weird. And if you play at night, you tend to find people. But there are some people that still stream the game, and they'll host open lobbies, and you can go in and play. And that's what I was doing last night, actually. I was in an open lobby somebody on Twitch had, and that was a lot of fun. So there's still a community there. It's just very, very tiny.
Same.
Well, even though I don't play, I promise I'll start plugging it more and sharing more streams of it.
Oh, it's pointless. It's gone. They dropped support so long ago. It's not even worth it anymore. But I just want people to play with. That's all.
Look, same thing that they've got going on, but I'm more of like the Halo guy, you know. I've actually been thinking about doing that, by the way. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but I'm tempted to set aside a day for just not so much running customs, but running a lobby. Actually, running customs and Mass Chief Collection would be fantastic. But I've been debating on doing that, getting that going. I already have people play. Impulse, I feel like you join the parties, but then there's a party that's just kind of like, woof, like I forget why I don't join parties of like 4 or 5 people. You caught us at our saltiest that day, by the way, if you were curious. We were like on the downhill. We picked it back up at the end.
That's the podcast, though, so we will see you guys in the next one. I think it'd be fun to do another one where we just reminisce about like our favorite gaming memories, like how Ryan brought up the Xbox stuff. That'd be pretty cool. So if you guys are down for that, we can do that. But we will see you guys in the next one.
See ya.
Take it easy.